I had tasted the bitter ash of failure countless times in the past, but the moment I returned to the sanctuary of my home, a nightmare was waiting to greet me. My family, bound and gagged, I was meant to be the prey. But when the bullies swung their bats to break me, my fist answered with the force of a battering ram, crushing their very will to fight. The vanguard's face collapsed under the impact. The boss froze in sheer terror, his mind unable to comprehend how a mere boy could possess such monstrous strength. Just moments before, a desperate father was on his knees, begging for a single month of mercy. The loan shark sneered in response. "Debts are absolute," he declared, "even if they must be paid in flesh and blood." His grip tightened on the debtor's shoulder, promising pain as a lesson. But then, a flicker of movement. The mother was reaching for her phone. Paranoia spiked. The gangster barked at her, mocking the futility of calling the police. But it wasn't the cops. A text from their son appeared on the screen, and her desperate warning typed out, "Do not come home." A cruel idea lit up the gangster's eyes. Why wait? He suggested they settle the debt right now, with the son's blood instead. His lackeys seized the terrified parents. They begged for their child's safety, but the boss had no patience for noise. He ordered them silenced immediately. As ropes bound the mother, the boss laughed darkly. He wouldn't want to spook the little prey. After all, the lookout signaled the target had arrived. Outside, an unsuspecting student stepped toward the front door, unaware of the hell waiting inside. A rough hand smothered the mother's screams. The door opened. The young man stepped into the hallway, right into the heart of the ambush. Calm as a still lake, he removed his shoes. "I'm home," he announced, as if nothing were wrong. Ambush. A bat swung from the shadows without warning. The steel connected with the back of the boy's skull. A blow meant to kill. His mother watched in horror, gagged and helpless. But the boy, he didn't fall. He turned, catching the attacker's arm in a vice grip. In a blur of motion, he seized the weapon. With the same bat meant to break him, he smashed the thug's face. The body hit the floor with a heavy thud. Right before the stunned boss, silence descended, heavy and suffocating. Confusion paralyzed the leader. "What the hell is this?" he thought. The student rose slowly, shrugging off a blow that should have shattered his skull. Panic turned to rage. "Kill him!" the boss screamed, unleashing his pack of wolves. A pipe swung for his head. The young man wove effortlessly. A counterpunch exploded into the attacker's gut. Ribs shattered like glass. The shockwave snapped the henchman's head back in a spray of agony. Another fool attempted a high kick, but the student snatched his foot out of the air like a fly. Snap! He twisted the limb and delivered a devastating sidekick. Behind him, a chair hurtled through the air. Useless. That attacker was hurled against the wall, landing right beside the boss. The leader trembled, watching his army dismantled by a single high schooler. Cornered like a rat, the boss drew a knife and lunged for the ultimate shield. The father. He grabbed the hostage, shouting threats. "Let's see how tough you are now." But a clothes iron became a deadly projectile. Bullseye. The iron smashed into the boss's face, forcing the blade from his grip. "No mercy." The young man slammed the object again, driving the gangster's head straight through the drywall. Dignity forgotten, the boss shrieked for mercy. "Call 911, he wailed like a child. His pleas fell on deaf ears. The student stood silent amidst the carnage. Slowly, he knelt to free his parents. His voice was ice cold. "If you didn't want me to fight, you shouldn't have been weak enough to be poor." Adrenaline faded. Seonu collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. His mother's scream pierced the air. Chaos erupted in the emergency room. Doctors scrambled to treat a literal pile of broken gangsters crying out in pain. Amidst the bedlam, a sharp-dressed man stood at the reception, phone in hand. Intrigued, he asked about the noise. The nurse revealed the impossible truth: one high school kid demolished 10 loan sharks single-handedly. Elsewhere, the battered boss demanded vengeance, but his lackey delivered chilling news. The boy was in this very hospital. A sinister grin formed. "I sent the Great Bear," he boasted. "That kid is already a corpse." The suit's ears perked up. The Great Bear. That name carried weight. He demanded the room number immediately. "Room 202, the receptionist stammered. He sprinted down the corridor. The Great Bear was a main event fighter candidate. This was the perfect test of the boy's potential. Reaching the door, he sighed. "Poor kid," he thought. He just walked out of the frying pan and into the fire. Inside room 202, Seonu came face to face with a mountain of muscle. The giant scoffed. "They called me for a kid," he grumbled. "Nothing personal, brat, just business." But then, a smirk. The giant noticed something unsettled. In the face of a monster, the boy's eyes showed zero fear. Determined to teach the brat the true meaning of terror, the giant raised his massive arm to strike, but Seonu was faster, lunging forward with a lightning-quick straight punch. It wasn't enough. The beast countered instantly, slamming Seonu into the concrete with bone-shaking force. Watching from the shadows, the observer shook his head. The kid was wildly outmatched against a monster like that. Sneering down at his prey, the attacker spat with contempt. "I don't care how crazy you are, kid. Fearlessness won't stop my fists." But then, movement. Seonu rose from the ashes like a zombie. He stared the giant down and smirked. "Keep yapping, big guy. Your punches tickle." Veins bulged on the giant's forehead. "Fine, I'll just enjoy killing you slowly," he roared, charging like a raging bull. Outside, the man in the suit felt the air grow heavy. It was pure killing intent. He had to step in before a murder occurred. A sledgehammer fist descended. Seonu weaved under the blow effortlessly and unleashed a vicious spinning kick, connecting squarely with the giant's jaw. The observer's eyes went wide. Impossible. No one had ever brought the great bear to his knees. Until now. The giant's world spun as he hit the floor. His mind raced. He possessed one of the strongest physiques in the nation. So how was he losing? Roaring in humiliation, he bellowed, "You think a pathetic student's kick can finish me?" Seonu didn't waste breath on words. He raised his leg high and brought it down a thunderous axe kick, crashing onto his opponent's skull. The suit-clad man watched in stunned silence. Seonu showed no mercy, raining down a barrage of punches on the fallen titan, pounding his face into a pulp. Yet, the monster still had fight in him. He snatched Seonu mid-strike, growling in frustration. He didn't want to use his ultimate technique on a high schooler, but he had no choice. The observer gasped. That grip. It was the infamous bone crusher. If he didn't intervene, the kid would be crippled for life. With a savage scream, the great bear announced his verdict. "Die, you arrogant brat. This is exactly what you deserve." Panic set in. The man sprinted toward the door, screaming for a halt, but inside, the lock was already set, torque applied to twist Seonu's body into a pretzel. But then, resistance. The giant poured every ounce of strength into the hold, yet Seonu began to rise, defying the very laws of physics. Sweat poured down the attacker's face. "How?" he stammered in confusion. "Why aren't your bones snapping?" Seonu's eyes gleamed with cold fury. He gripped the giant's face with an iron claw. "My turn," he whispered. "I'm going to crush you into dust." Terror replaced rage. The giant struggled, but his strength evaporated. Why wasn't his grip working? He was helpless. Cracked Seonu delivered a brutal headbutt. The giant groaned, feeling like he had just slammed into a wall of solid steel. Seonu was relentless. Another punch connected, driving the giant's face straight into the glass floor with a sickening crunch. He didn't stop. Punch after punch rained down, bloody and brutal. Suddenly, the door burst open. The man in the suit rushed in, commanding him to cease fire. The great bear was out cold. The man approached the panting student cautiously, hands raised. "Easy, kid. Take a breath. It's over. Kill him, and the cleanup becomes a nightmare," he reasoned smoothly. He pulled out his phone, dialing a number he knew all too well. "Code Blue, room 202. Head trauma from a traffic accident. Send the team." Seonu wiped blood from his lip, eyes narrowing. "Who are you, one of his goons?" The man chuckled, shaking his head. "Hardly. In fact, after seeing that performance, I would much rather be on your side." Seonu scoffed, looking at him like he was insane. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" Suddenly, the room swarmed with figures in hazmat suits. One checked the unconscious giant, nodding efficiently. "Target confirmed. We will handle the extraction." "Keep the bear under for a while," the suit ordered. The medical team nodded. "Consider it done." Seonu watched the surreal scene, guard up. "Seriously, who the hell are you people?" With a smooth motion, the man extended a sleek business card. "Work for my boss, and the world is yours. Money, power, anything you desire. All you have to do is fight. Seonu didn't even look at the name. He crushed the card in his fist, his expression hardening. Get lost. He tossed the crumpled paper into the trash like garbage. I don't sell my fists for cash. I'm not a thug. Watching the boy retreat, the recruiter smirked. He says that now. But everyone has a price. Later. In the restroom, Seonu splashed cold water over his bruised face. He stared into his own tired eyes in the mirror. His life was a dumpster fire. But he clung to one shred of dignity. I promised I would never become like them. The door creaked open. His father stood there, looking worn. What are you doing in here? You are in no condition to be wandering around, the older man scolded. Seonu felt a snap. My condition? You want to talk about whose fault it is that we are living like this? Bitterness coated his tongue. You always brag about being a boxing champion, about the glory days, about the teams that wanted you. If you were so great, why are we drowning in debt? Why are we being hunted by loan sharks? Was it your precious pride was opening a small, safe neighborhood gym too humiliating for a former champ? Is your ego more important than mom? She is suffering because of you. His father's face remained stone cold. Shut your mouth. Don't leave the hospital. That was it. No apology. As the door clicked shut, Seonu whispered to the empty room, I hate you. The adrenaline faded, leaving only pain. Seonu collapsed to the tiles, clutching his throbbing head. Damn it. Maybe I just need some sleep. He realized the agony tearing him apart wasn't just physical exhaustion. It was the burning hatred he held for his own father. He could no longer bear to watch that man bleed and suffer, day after day, just to keep them alive. The sight of his father kneeling before those bullies' parents destroyed him. He refused to rely on a man who had thrown away his pride. He couldn't stand the thought of his father believing he had done his duty, while Seonu remained trapped in this living hell, too young to work, helpless to change their fate. When a recruiter had offered a way out, he had foolishly turned him away. To make matters worse, those tormentors had dug a grave for him too deep to climb out of. Yet, despite the hatred, he could not abandon his mother. His life felt like an endless abyss of despair. Confusion washed over him as he woke in a strange room. Had he passed out again? He grabbed his phone, desperate to know how much time he had lost. A text message waited for him. It is time you knew the truth. Meet me tonight. Shock paralyzed Seonu. What dark secrets was his father hiding? Suddenly, panic struck his mother. He dialed her number with trembling fingers. Her voice came through urgent and terrified. Do not come home. Those thugs are waiting for you. She revealed he had been moved to a hidden ward under a false name, just to keep him alive. But what about you? Seonu cried out. I am safe, she whispered, hiding in a motel near the police station. I must go. Her final words were a plea. Please, stay in the hospital. Do not leave. Survive. Guilt crashed over him like a tidal wave. If only he hadn't fought back. If only he had remained weak. None of this would have happened. But he could not sit still. He had to find her. He sprinted for the exit, but his phone rang again. It was his father. He answered, expecting his father's voice. Instead, a stranger spoke. Are you the son of Mr. Kang? The news struck like a hammer. It is an emergency. Your father fell from a building. He is unconscious. The image haunted his mind, his father's broken body lying amidst the dust and steel of a construction site. Back in the cold hospital room, Seonu stared at the wreckage of a man. His father lay silent, wrapped in bandages, kept alive only by machines. The doctor's words were a death sentence. The surgery is complex. It will cost over 100 million won, followed by years of rehabilitation. The world spun around him, devastated. He collapsed into the corner of the room, the weight of reality crushing his soul. Despair clawed at his throat. How could a kid like him ever raise such a fortune? Suddenly, a memory flashed like lightning, the business card he had thrown away. It was still in the trash can. It was his only hope. He scrambled to his feet and sprinted back toward room 202. He burst into the room and tore through the trash. But his heart stopped. The card was gone. Powerless, he crumbled to the floor. Tears streamed down his face as he cursed his own existence. I am sorry. I am so useless. He was ready to give up on life itself. But then, a voice cut through the silence. Are you perhaps looking for this? The man in the suit stood there, holding the golden ticket. Have you had a change of heart, boy? Through his tears, Seonu looked up. How much? How much can I make if I work for you? The man smiled. If you win, at least 10 billion won, but you don't even need the crown to become rich and famous. He slid a document across the air. Read this carefully before you sign your life away. Seonu Kang stared at the words. What is this? A bat ring. The answer was brutal and direct. A secret tournament, the man replied, where fighters use special substances to unlock godlike physical abilities. Seonu recoiled. I don't do drugs. The man simply opened a box on the table, revealing rows of glowing vials. He lifted one with delicate precision. These are not mere street drugs, boy. They grant power that can turn a dying old man into a titan. Of course, using them is your choice. Seonu narrowed his eyes. Who are you really? I am Manhwa Kim. The recruiter bowed slightly. A headhunter for the VIPs of the combat ring? Ignoring the boy's shock, Manhwa continued his pitch. Survive long enough to reach the top 20, and you earn the right to choose a sponsor. You select a VIP client, they fund you, you fight for them. Together, you claim the throne. Seonu clenched his fists. I'll do it, but I need the money now. He knew it was a desperate, impossible demand. Frustration boiled over. Why should I trust a system that won't save me when I need it most? The man's smile was chillingly calm. Relax, Seonu. I know you need the surgery fees for your father. Seonu froze. How did this man know everything? With a devilish calm, Manhwa Kim lays his offer on the table. He will cover the father's crushing medical bills and provide a sanctuary, all while Seonu fights for him. He presses the wound deeper, reminding the boy that people like them have nowhere else to run. Suddenly, a ringtone pierces the tension. Seonu answers, his voice trembling as he speaks to his mother. He tries to hang up quickly, but the trap has already been sprung. Seizing the moment, the recruiter adds a final sweetener. They won't just pay the bills, they will shield his family from the loan sharks circling their door. Seonu opens his mouth to ask how he can possibly trust a gangster, but his phone buzzes again. It is his mother. Dread pools in his stomach as he answers, but instead of fear, his mother's voice trembles with relief. The surgery is paid for. Bodyguards are already standing watch. Manhwa Kim's efficiency is terrifying. The safe house is ready. His mother is untouchable, as long as Seonu cooperates. Realizing the leash is already around his neck, Seonu lies to his mother. He claims he hired the guards and begs her to obey them, promising he will return soon. The call disconnects, leaving a heavy silence in the room. A single, burning question rises in his mind. What kind of hell requires a prize of 10 billion won Minsuk? Kim chuckles, explaining that 10 billion is merely the opening ante. The true fortune lies in the betting. Legendary champions have walked away with over 15 billion won in blood money. The numbers sound like a fantasy. Seonu stammers that it is impossible, but the man's eyes remain cold and serious. It is very real. However, Minsuk muses that even that amount might not be enough, considering the price the fighters pay with their flesh and blood. The reality of the tournament is brutal. Most participants leave in a body bag or are crippled for life. In the previous tournament, only 10% of the fighters walked out on their own two legs. Manhwa continues his lecture. The first step of the contract is grim. They must fabricate an alibi for the participant's death. The words hang in the air. An alibi for his own death. Seonu stares in disbelief, asking how a secret tournament can exist when the body count is so high. Manhwa leans forward, his shadow stretching over the table. The secret is kept precisely because the witnesses all end up dead. He points a finger at the contract. The hospital is not for healing, it is a factory for falsifying death certificates. To erase Seonu from the world, they need to stage a scene. They need footage of him in a specific location. A final digital footprint before he vanishes into the underworld. Seonu's eyes flash with defiance. He challenges the recruiter, asking what happens if he walks out and goes straight to the police. Manhwa Kim does not even blink. He calmly explains that destroying a student is child's play. They will paint him as a drug addict, a lunatic whom no one will believe. A cruel smirk touches his lips. It wouldn't matter anyway. Before Seonu could even file a report, he would be legally declared dead. The system belongs to them. That is the true power of having a hospital serve as the host. Life and death are merely paperwork to them. The recruiter delivers his ultimatum. The choice belongs to Seonu. The contract sits on the table, waiting for blood or ink. Min-suk feigns generosity, starting to say that Seonu can take a few days to decide, but he doesn't get the chance. Seonu grabs the pen and signs his life away, demanding only that they keep their promise to his parents. A predatory grin spreads across Min-suk Kim's face. The beast has been snared. Instantly, a nurse materializes from the shadows. Cold steel pierces Seonu's neck. He instinctively grabs her arm, panic surging as a sedative hits his veins. Min-suk watches without emotion. He assures the boy it is standard procedure. They are simply transporting him to the arena. Then comes the final condition. His parents remain safe only as long as he fights. If he falls, their protection falls with him. Darkness creeps into his vision. His limbs turn to lead as his mind screams against the fading light. When consciousness returns, the first thought is morbid. Is he dead? He blinks open his eyes to see a figure in a biohazard suit. Before he can speak, his gurney is shoved forward, racing down a sterile corridor at breakneck speed. The wheels screech to a halt. Disoriented and weak, Seonu rasps out a question to his masked captor. Where is this place? The figure orders silence. The time for questions is over. As the doors open, a voice welcomes him to his new reality. Welcome to hell. Meanwhile, high above in the Hyeon Group headquarters, a different kind of war is being planned. Director Yoon Cha, the second son of the conglomerate, listens intently to the scouting report. His expression is unreadable as he reviews the file. The boy defeated the Great Bear. He asks if this student is truly worthy of being their ace. Min-suk Kim confirms it with absolute certainty, fully aware that the vice president might mock their choice of a rookie. Director Yoon Cha narrows his eyes. Why choose an unknown variable? The subordinate explains the strategy. The director's brother is obsessed with raw power. They need a fighter who looks weak to bait him into a massive wager. The director gazes at Seonu's photo, contemplating the gamble. Is this boy truly the weapon that will destroy his own brother? Min-suk Kim reports with absolute conviction, detailing his examination of Seonu's body after surviving the Great Bear's devastating strike. His voice trembles as he reveals a discovery beyond logic. Intrigued, Wan-cha leans in, demanding to know the truth of what he found. Meanwhile, Seonu's consciousness snaps back in a strange abyss, only to see a boot rushing toward his face. A thug tries to crush him, but an armed guard barks a lethal command to stand down. The man retreats, laughing it off as a twisted joke. A mechanical drone hovers close, scanning his vitals and confirming the player is awake. Leaving Seonu's mind reeling in confusion, he struggles to his knees, bewildered by the unfamiliar surroundings and the high school uniform clinging to his body. The drone's cold, robotic voice pierces the air, announcing the start of the chaotic qualifying round for the main battle arena. A sleek mechanism slides open before them, revealing a sinister syringe glistening in the light. The system declares that every player will receive a random injection designed to amplify a single attribute to superhuman levels. As the VIP betting table officially opens, Seonu's opponent snatches the applicator, eager to inject the mysterious substance. In that critical second, a memory flashes through Seonu's mind. He may have failed to graduate, but he swears on his life to uphold his vow never, ever touch drugs. A blood-curdling scream rips through the air. The syringe clatters to the floor, soaked in red, as the man roars in ecstasy, claiming his new power. Seonu watches with a hawk's gaze, analyzing the grotesque transformation taking hold of his enemy. Without warning, the thug launches a devastating kick. The impact flings Seonu across the room, shattering the concrete wall upon collision. As he drags himself from the rubble, Seonu realizes the drug has mutated the man's muscles into weapons of mass destruction. The drone chimes in, confirming that Chulhan has successfully awakened the attribute of strength. Chulhan laughs maniacally, praising his luck. He screams that he can finally crush everyone who mocked him for being weak. He turns his murderous gaze towards Seonu Kang, taunting him with a question of how he wishes to die. In a flash, Seonu lands a sharp jab to the face. Irritated, Chulhan sneers, asking if this pathetic resistance is a joke. But Seonu's eyes are sharp. He realizes that while the monster is strong, his reaction speed is still human. Seonu dashes in to close the gap, but Chulhan counters with a heavy haymaker that strikes him dead center. Blood sprays from Seonu's face as he barely tracks the assault. He forces his body to move, dodging the next lethal strike with a desperate backflip. It is not enough. Chulhan lands a sledgehammer blow to his chest, sending him hurtling through the air. He catches Seonu mid-flight, boasting of his brute strength, and ruthlessly pile-drives him headfirst into the unforgiving floor. The beast roars with sadistic joy. He leaps high into the air, declaring himself the apex predator of this arena. Burning with years of suppressed hatred, he vows to obliterate every arrogant fool who ever looked down on him. He descends with a catastrophic knee strike to Seonu's skull. He follows up by stomping on his chest, fracturing the very earth beneath them. With a cruel grin, he whispers that if he is going to break something, he will start by pulverizing Seonu's ribcage into dust. The scene shifts to the past, where Min-soo Kim stands over the boy who miraculously survived the Great Bear. The data he recovered was impossible. Confused, Wancha demands an explanation for his disbelief. Min-soo Kim struggles to speak, revealing that Seonu possesses muscle density 10 times greater than the average man. His bones are harder than steel, defying all medical logic. Back in the blood-soaked present, Seonu's hand snaps around Chulhan's leg. Seizing the instant, he launches a thunderous kick directly to the giant's chin. Stunned, Chulhan wonders how an unenhanced brat can hit so hard, assuming Seonu simply has not mastered his own drug yet. From the ground, Seonu analyzes the enemy. The drug gave him power, but his stamina is draining fast. He formulates a plan, avoid the grapple at all costs, and dissect him with lightning-fast jabs to the face. Seonu explodes forward. His opponent braces, screaming that the boy is just rushing to his own funeral. With serpentine agility, Seonu weaves through the attack. The monster hits only air, and Seonu punishes him with a piston-like fist to the jaw. Maintaining the rhythm, he slips past a clumsy grab and lands another devastating blow, rattling Chulhan's skull. Showing no mercy, Seonu unleashes a torrential barrage of precise, high-speed punches. Under the avalanche of strikes, Chulhan collapses. Seonu steps in, winding up to deliver the final execution. Suddenly, the monster's eyes snap open. He clamps onto Seonu's arms with a twisted smile, revealing he took the beating solely to bait him in. Seonu freezes in shock. Chulhan mocks him, asking if he really believed a few love taps would bring him down. A dark glint fills his eyes as he asks if Seonu knows why kangaroos pin their prey's arms before the kill. With his arms locked down, Kyohan resorts to a savage headbutt, but the recoil is devastating. Kyo collapses, his consciousness flickering, yet like a zombie, he claws across the floor, refusing to accept defeat. He smashes his fist into the concrete, screaming in frustration as his own body fails to obey his will. Panic sets in as he questions reality. How could he possibly lose to someone who hasn't even taken the enhancement drug? His eyes lock onto the remaining vial. A single dose wasn't enough to awaken his true potential. Dragging his broken body, he snatches the second syringe, and Seonu instantly realizes the catastrophic danger. That drug was meant for him. Seonu knows he cannot let Kyo inject it, and he lunges forward in a desperate bid to intercept, but he is a split second too late. The needle pierces skin, and the drone's robotic voice echoes, "Stamina enhancement confirmed." Explosive energy erupts from Kyo. A single blow sends Seonu flying across the room, and before he can recover, a massive hand crushes his skull into the dirt. Kyo hoists him into the air like a rag doll, his eyes bloodshot with fury, screaming, "Who are you calling a thug now? You trash." He leaps into the air and drives Seonu's head into the pavement with earth-shattering force. The drone tries to intervene, but Kyo swats it away. "I am not done yet," he roars, tired of being the victim, ready to unleash years of pent-up rage. He locks Seonu in a suffocating rear-naked choke from behind. "Feel that? This is exactly the despair I felt." The grip tightens like a vice as he hisses, "Filthy rats like you need to be exterminated once and for all." Vision blurring. Oxygen cutting off. As the darkness closes in, Seonu cries out to his father in the depths of his mind. Suddenly, silence descends. Both Seonu Kang and Kyohan lie motionless amidst the rubble of the shattered arena. Game over. Player deceased. The drone chimes coldly. Watching from the control room, Yue Cha stares at the monitor, puzzled. What just happened down there? Min-soo Kim leans back, unimpressed by the carnage. Simple. It was a fatal overdose. Mixing those two serums has a survival rate of less than 0.5%. Kyo had already consumed the power drug. When he injected Seonu's stamina booster on top of that, his heart simply exploded. Yue Cha sighs, disappointed. So the fool killed himself. That kid, Seonu, is incredibly lucky. Luck. Minsu corrects him sharply. Look closer at the boy's vitals. That is not just luck. So he has tough bones. Yue Cha scoffs. Who cares? There are literal monsters waiting in the next bracket. Minsu shakes his head, his eyes glued to the data. Our drugs enhance muscles, organs, and hormones, but they cannot alter bone density. For his frame to withstand that impact, he was born different. Intrigued, Yue Cha decides to let the game play out. Fine, let's see if he breaks on the main stage. What is next for the survivor, since he survived the qualifying round? Mellow Kim answers. He advances immediately to the next phase. First, he goes to the infirmary. We need him patched up before we throw him back into the pit. Because from here on out, he will be facing freaks of nature with abilities we can't even predict. In the sterile silence of the recovery ward, Seonu sits alone, head bowed, statue still. The weight of a human life presses on him. Did Kyeol die because of him? He never wanted to kill. He only wanted to survive. Then, the cold reality hits. He was seconds away from death himself. His father's voice cuts through the trauma. Get a grip, son. Weakness is not an option. He remembers he is the last line of defense for his family. The introspection is cut short as the drone chimes in, attention. All round one winners report to the central lobby. A medic gestures to the door. The guide will brief you. Do exactly as you are told if you want to live. And don't try anything stupid. The guards are authorized to shoot on sight. A drone hovers, beckoning him into the dark corridor. He follows the machine deep into the bowels of the facility, emerging into a massive, cavernous expanse. Seonu scans the towering walls. This isn't just an arena. It is an inescapable underground fortress designed to keep monsters inside. A pang of regret stabs his heart. I didn't even get to say goodbye to Mom. But looking back is useless. His participation ensures their safety. To keep them alive, he must become a survivor. He realizes how naive he was. In the outside world, he felt like a freak, like a monster. But here, even a low-level thug possessed godlike strength. If Kyeol was that strong, what kind of demons are waiting in the shadows? Player detected, the system announces. Opening central lobby. Heavy blast doors grind open, and a swarm of drones buzzes through the air like mechanical locusts. All candidates accounted for. The atmosphere grows heavy with bloodlust. The survival game officially begins now. Total participants 124. All participants, eyes forward, the briefing is about to commence. Seonu scanned the chaotic room, his blood running cold. These weren't just competitors. They were absolute monsters. The difference in power was suffocating. These beasts were leagues above the trash he had faced in the first round. Survival rule number 1, stay invisible. He decided to lay low and preserve his strength until the real death match began. But fate had other plans. A towering giant loomed over him, mocking his presence. Seonu cursed his luck. His school uniform was like a neon sign begging for trouble. Nearby, whispers spread like poison. That kid, he's a fluke. His opponent overdosed and dropped dead. Pure luck. Look at that uniform, another scoffed. The VIPs probably just want to see a student get slaughtered for entertainment. I'm bored out of my mind, a voice sneered. Maybe I should break the kid in before the show starts. His partner held him back. Too late. Someone beat you to it. Seonu froze as a massive shadow fell over him. The giant demanded an answer, his voice booming like thunder. I asked you a question, little boy. Do you want to play? Silence was the wrong answer. A massive hand crushed Seonu's skull. I guess I have no choice. The brute grunted. Time to die. In that split second, instinct took over. To survive this hell, he had to evolve. In a flash, Seonu slipped through the giant's grasp like a phantom. He dodged the giant. Big Bear blinked in confusion, but before he could strike again, a figure stepped into the fray. Mr. Kang extended his arm, commanding them to halt, but Big Bear wasn't listening. He snatched Kang's wrist in a vice grip. Who the hell are you? Big Bear roared. Mister. Kang stood his ground, his eyes hard as flint. Back off. He is just a child. Kang braced for impact. The giant scoffed, eyeing Kang's mechanical limb. You think you can stop me with that hunk of junk attached to your shoulder? His laughter grated on the ears. You're risking your neck for this useless trash. How pathetic. Seonu tried to retreat, desperate to avoid the spotlight, but Big Bear's bloodlust was boiling over. Fine, if you want to play hero, you can die first. Seonu couldn't let an innocent man die for him. He lunged forward, but suddenly, an unseen force slammed into Big Bear's skull. Seonu gasped as the giant collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. A drone hovered overhead, its mechanical voice chilling the air. Briefing commencing. Unauthorized combat is strictly prohibited. Violators will be executed immediately. The message was clear: obey or die. Seonu stared at the corpse. They killed him like an insect. Was survival even possible in this slaughterhouse? Static shrieked through the speakers. All heads turned to the massive screen. A shadowy figure materialized, grinning at the survivors. Welcome to hell, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't mince words. The preliminaries were just a warm-up, but from this moment on, defeat equals elimination. And by elimination, he chuckled darkly, I mean total physical incapacitation, or death. But fear not, the survivor who climbs over the mountain of corpses will claim the prize. 10 billion won. The crowd went wild. Blinded by greed, Seonu clenched his fists. 10 billion. With that money, his family would never suffer again. However, the host interrupted. Only one king can sit on the throne. But there's a bonus. Survive to the top 16, and you'll earn 5% of the VIP betting pool. Greed lit up their eyes. I'm taking it all. One fighter roared. The prize money and the pot are mine. Now for the twist. The host grinned. You are all stars now. Each of you gets a personal channel and a camera guide. The VIPs are always watching. Entertain them. The more eyes on you, the richer you become. Make the VIPs fall in love with your violence. Accommodation time. 5-person dorms are open. Choose your roommates wisely. Dismissed, head to your quarters. Your guides will explain the rest. Try not to kill each other. Yet. As the crowd dispersed, the wolves began to plot. We need heavy hitters, one whispered. Stick with that kid, and our viewership will tank. He's dead weight. Seonu felt the cold shoulder of the entire room. No one wanted the weakling. He was alone. Suddenly, a heavy hand landed on his shoulder. Mister. Kang smiled warmly. Don't look so grim, kid. Stick with me. I'll watch your back until the tournament officially kicks off. Seonu hesitated, looking past him. He caught a glimpse of a blonde fighter disappearing into the shadows. Could the rumors be true? Kang interrupted his thoughts, pointing to a quiet door. Let's take that one. No need to fight for space. Seonu was baffled. Why help him? He was a pariah, a liability. This man had almost died because of him just minutes ago. He couldn't read the man's intentions. Was this kindness or a trap? But he had no other options. Every path in this hellhole led to danger. Well, Kang asked, holding the door. Are you coming or not? Seonu made his choice. I'm coming. As they entered, the two schemers watched from the shadows, shaking their heads. Look at them, a cripple and a kid. They'll be dead last in the rankings. Who cares? The other smirked. I secured the room right next to the top seeds. I'll leech off their popularity. Even if I lose, I'll be famous. That's how you play the game. His partner smirks, noting that raw muscle attracts the VIPs like moths to a flame. Next door, 3 behemoths wait in heavy silence. The blonde fighter from before approaches their sanctuary. He steps inside and immediately seals the exit behind him. He strolls up to the biggest guy, eyes mocking. He compliments the seat, then coldly orders him to move. Rage flares. The giant rises, demanding to know why he blocked the cameras before the show began. Do you have a death wish? He roars, launching an attack, but the blonde is faster, landing a devastating strike before the giant can breathe. The mountain of muscle crumbles to the dust. Unfazed, the blonde scans the room. Who else wants a greeting? He commands them to stay silent. Suddenly, Misuhan, a 19-year-old key practitioner, speaks up. There is someone else I need to greet. Meanwhile, inside a luxury vehicle, UN, Cha receives critical intel. The vice president is reclaiming the former champion. Cam Cha grinds his teeth. No one else is worthy of partnering with the champ now. Their only remaining option is a mere high school student. Min-soo Kim grins with malice. If the boy reaches the top 16, The perfect chance to administer the serum will appear. Seonu is the perfect vessel. His bones are 10 times denser than a normal human's, a freak of nature ready for evolution. Once the drug hits his system, he won't just be strong, he will become the greatest entity history has ever seen. UN worries about other VIPs poaching their prize, but Minsuk dismisses the fear with a confident wave. He reveals the truth. Seonu's roommates are bottom-tier trash with the lowest viewership ratings. Nobody's watching them. Back in the holding cell, Mr. Kang sighs. Attracting sponsors here will be a Herculean task. The crowd follows the favorites, but they have a wild card. Amanda Grouch, ranked 23, a lethal master of capoeira and jiu-jitsu. Beside her stands Minho Kim, a compact boxer ranked 25th, small but dangerous. And finally, Menon, ranked 28, a lunatic who spends his time screaming at his own elbow. Continuing his bizarre ritual, he begs for assistance to lick his arm, while Seonu watches in dead silence. Kang spots a drone hovering. The eyes of the world are finally upon them. Time to make some money, he declares. He flexes, revealing a cybernetically enhanced arm. He drops into a one-armed handstand. Pumping out reps, Seonu remains unimpressed. I don't think that will be enough. Suddenly, Amanda rises. She points a single finger at the ground and cracks the concrete floor. She hoists her entire body weight on that one digit. Seonu's eyes widen. The physics shouldn't be possible. Kang and Amanda turn the room into a gym, pushing their limits side by side. Seonu tries to speak, but Minho Kim interrupts. Strength is for fools. In a blink, he vanishes, dashing across the room like lightning. Seonu is stunned. How can a human move with such blinding speed? Meanwhile, Minon erupts in victory. I am the god of martial arts, he screams, finally achieving his dream of licking his elbow. Seonu observes the chaos. It is a mixture of awe-inspiring power and absolute absurdity. The screen flashes. The brackets for the top 124 have been decided. Tension fills the room. Seonu scans the list and finds his destiny. His opponent is a man named Kai. UN. Cha frowns. Is this Kai truly a monster? Minsuk's expression darkens. Since his days in the blood sport of Lethwei, Minsuk answers, Kai has never known defeat. UN is confused. What is Lethwei? Minsuk explains it is a Burmese art similar to Muay Thai, but stripped of all humanity and safety rules. You scoffs. Muay Thai uses elbows and knees. Is this really so different? You do not understand, Minsuk warns. Lethwei allows weapons that others forbid. Bare knuckles, no protection, and the most brutal weapon of all, the headbutt. A skull slam can shatter bones instantly. Most sports ban it for fear of killing the athletes. But Minsuk's voice drops lower. That is not even the worst part. Strikes to the spine, blows to the back of the neck. Lethwei is designed to paralyze and execute. Kai is a predator. Even after retiring, he fought for the syndicates just to feel the thrill of blood. Shudders. Minsuk continues. The ring was too small for his bloodlust. He hunted famous fighters in the streets until the criminal underworld claimed him as their own. UN looks at the screen, terrified. Can Seonu survive a monster like that? Minsuk sighs. Honestly, I do not know. Until now, Seonu has only crushed amateurs with zero combat discipline. But the game has changed. His next opponent is Kai, a 28-year-old master of Lethwei. The recovery pod hisses open. Seonu rises from the slumber. How long was I out? He flexes his hand. His body feels impossibly light. It is not an illusion. Power courses through his veins. He realizes he has felt this sensation once before. His mind flashes back to the life-or-death struggle against the Great Bear. He remembers awakening with the same surge of vitality. He stands tall. I am stronger. From the shadows, Minsuk Kim speaks up. Do not be so shocked, kid. The veteran explains the theory. Muscles torn to the absolute brink without breaking completely rebuild themselves harder than steel. He adds that Seonu had likely never pushed his human limits that far until now. The realization hits the young man. Against the Great Bear, he had truly stood at death's door. Minsuk eyes him suspiciously. Your recovery speed is unnatural. Did you juice up? Seonu ignores the joke. I have a question. His gaze turns serious. Why risk your life to help me? Minsuk sighs. the weight of the past in his voice. Because you remind me of my son. Regret fills his eyes. If I had been a real father, he would not be drowning in debt to loan sharks right now. Seonu connects the dots. So you entered this hell to pay off his debts to save your family. Min-suk nods, seeing Seonu fighting all alone. It struck a chord he could not ignore. He could not just stand by and watch another son suffer, but Seonu cuts him off coldly. Stop wasting time on me. The young man's eyes burn with intensity. If you want to be a father, survive this place and go be one. Dying here solves nothing. Flustered, Min-suk puts him in a headlock. You brat, don't talk like it is the end of the world. Suddenly, a voice shrills through the room. This makes no sense. Manon stares at the ranking screen, horrified. Why am I not on the main stage? A drone buzzes past as he yells, I can lick my own elbow. I am a star. Min-suk explains the harsh reality. Only the bloodiest. Most hype battles happen in the main arena. The rest fight in the scraps. He analyzes the bracket and realizes a grim truth. Their group has the lowest viewer count. They are the bottom of the barrel. Everyone except Menon is main stage material. Min-suk notes, that means something terrifying. It means our opponents are the monsters, the fan favorites. But Seonu Kang just smiles. Good. That makes this even better. Min-suk looks at him like he's crazy. Better how? Seonu's eyes gleam. It is the perfect stage to steal the spotlight for our team. The old man shakes his head. You have completely lost your mind. Manon interrupts the moment. It is not just normal viewers watching the main arena today. He drops a bomb. 16 VVIPs will be there in the flesh. The absolute rulers of the world. Seonu's heart skips a beat. Could the talent scout be among them meanwhile? Outside. Black sedans slice through the night. Unchan steps out into the grime. Why are we at this dump? We were promised the main arena. Mr. Kang lowers his voice. Only the organizers know the true location. This warehouse is a covert extraction point. He adds a disturbing detail. Sir, I noticed someone else has been tracking Seonu's channel besides us. Unchan scowls. Are we being watched? Suddenly, a voice cuts through the darkness. Oh, surely not. On the catwalk above, Sun Young Cha, the exiled princess of the Hosen group, looks down like a queen. She smirks. I am only here because that boy, Seonu, caught my eye. Unchan's face twists in disgust. Stalking me like a rat is getting kicked out of the company not enough for you. Mr. Kang whispers, your sister seems obsessed with your business, sir. She is not my sister, Unchan roars. She is the daughter of a whore. Sun Young descends the stairs, unfazed. Cruel words for the girl who sacrificed her education to fix your messes. Oh. She steps closer. But thanks to you, I found this entertaining little underworld. So, thank you, brother. Unchan steps forward menacingly. I do not know what you are plotting, but you better vanish. Now. Before blood can spill, a luxury limousine roars into the warehouse. 2 figures in hazmat suits emerge. We are here to escort you to the holy ground. Cut to Sun Young Cha. She rips off her blindfold. Where is this? Before her lies a coliseum of madness. The main arena lies below, the guard states. Welcome to the VVIP suite. Sun Young smiles dangerously. Finally, let the show begin. She reveals a chilling truth. This arena isn't just a battleground. It is her brother's personal kingdom. Elsewhere, Unsha is awestruck by the sheer scale of the facility. Mr. Kang cuts in with grim news the moment the current bloodbath concludes. The battle for room 10 begins. A deafening explosion tears through the monitors before them. On screen, Min-soo Han is crushing his victim against a shattered wall like a rag doll, terrified. Yunsha stammers, what kind of monster is that? Mr. Kang's eyes narrow. That is Min-soo Han, and terrifyingly, there's another fighter here who shares his age. The man beside him gasps, another high schooler, but Mr. Kang shakes his head. He dropped out. He abandoned the system long ago. Still, it defies logic. How could one single school birth 2 absolute monsters? The revelation drops heavy in the air. Min-soo hails from the very same high school as Seonu. Min-soo Han's victory is absolute. The drone's robotic voice cuts through the silence. Rooms 9 and 20 are finished. The showdown for room 10 begins now. The fighters are summoned. Min-soo Kim feels a chill run down his spine. The pressure here is leagues apart from the first round. Suddenly, the drone commands everyone to halt. Only one player is called forward, Minho Kim. Minho steps up to the gateway of hell, steeling his nerves for the carnage ahead. The victors are ordered to clear the stage. Min-soo Han walks past Minho, casually running a hand through his hair as if bored. Min-suk prays Minho stays calm, but suddenly, bam, a stone smashes into the wall right beside Seonu, leaving a crater. Minho glances back, his eyes sharp. He witnessed everything. While pretending to fix his hair, Min-soo had launched a lethal projectile at Seonu. Seonu remains frozen, staring at the impact point. Minho is impressed. Normal eyes would have missed such blinding speed. He steps forward and calls out to the monster, Min-soo Han. Min-soo stops. He turns slowly, a dark smile playing on his lips. Is your teammate really that arrogant? Minho doesn't flinch. I don't think so. The defiance hangs in the air, thick with tension. Min-soo scoffs, unable to believe the audacity. In a heartbeat, Minho drops into a combat stance, watching from the sidelines. Mellow Kim panics. What is he thinking? Amanda cuts in. This wasn't random. Minho's senses are razor sharp. He detected the murderous intent radiating from that rock. In response, Min-soo Han unleashes a terrifying aura that suffocates the room. Then, just as quickly, Min-soo turns and walks away. Minho blinks, wondering if his fear conjured a hallucination, but his instincts scream the danger was real. But he has no time to dwell on it. A massive shadow looms behind him. Doubts plague Minho's mind. Is he too weak for revenge? A gruff voice snaps him back to reality. What are you staring at, kid? His opponent has arrived. The massive wrestler, Pice, steps into the arena. High above in the VIP box, President Ju Song-go of the Snug-on Hotel scoffs. Why a wrestler? They have no striking game. His assistant corrects him. Strikes are meaningless once a grappler gets a hold of you. Once they latch onto their prey, it's over. Throws, joint locks, bones snap before the victim can even scream. That is why wrestlers dominate the mixed martial arts world. Their foundation is solid rock. Anyone can throw a punch, but facing a human weapon who attacks with their entire body weight, that is a nightmare scenario, especially with such a massive size gap. The drone hovers, signaling the fighters. Preparation is over. The bell rings. The clash between Minho Kim and the Titan Pice has begun. Pice sneers, looking down at Minho. A boxing rookie? You look like a soft kid who's never fought without padded gloves. I almost feel sorry for you. He mocks. Minho doesn't speak. He moves. Bam! A fist explodes directly into Pice's eye. Pice staggers back, clutching his face in shock. Minho stands tall, his voice cold. Who exactly is the weakling here? Pice growls, trying to focus with his remaining good eye. But he's too slow. Minho vanishes into the blind spot, and crack! Another devastating blow rocks his jaw. Minho unleashes a barrage of violence, desperate. Pice lunges forward to grapple, but Minho flows like water, dodging effortlessly. Counterattack, Minho hammers fists into the giant's face and chest. The second eye takes a direct hit. Minho winds up for the finisher. Watching the onslaught, Min-soo gasps. Is it over already? Amanda shakes her head, her expression grim. Not yet. Look closely. The giant has started to block. Indeed, Pice's guard is up, absorbing the impacts. Realizing the change, Minho leaps back to create distance. Like a raging bull, the wrestler charges again. Minho barely manages to dodge backward, escaping the grasp of defeat by a hair's breadth. Confusion clouded his mind. Even as he launched his attack, he witnessed something impossible. Pice stood there, frozen by the sheer absurdity of the moment. The memory struck him like a physical blow. As the darkness claimed the vision in his eye, his instincts screamed. Every hair on his body stood up, electrified by pure danger. Sudden clarity washed over him. With arrogant confidence, Pice made a terrifying choice. If I cannot see, I will simply close my eyes to the world completely. Minho froze, baffled by this insanity. Why would an opponent blind himself voluntarily in the heat of battle? He ignored the warning signs and charged. Conviction filled his voice as he advanced. This fight is already over. You're finished. Snap. Pice snatched his fist out of thin air. A deathly silence fell over the entire arena as the spectators gasped in horror. Panic set in. Minho realized he had to dodge left, desperate to escape. But as he tried to retreat, A second hand was already there, cutting off his path. With inhuman strength, Pice hoisted him skyward. Gravity took over. He slammed Minho's body into the concrete with devastating force. Minho Kim screamed, "A perfect suplex." Yusin Go realized the terrifying truth. He didn't get weaker. The injury only made him a monster. The assistant trembled as he spoke. The loss of vision. It triggered the sensory enhancement drug's true potential. Pice loomed over his prey like a predator. "You should thank me, boy. Without your help, I never would have awakened this godlike power." Suddenly, a finger twitched. Boom. In the blink of an eye, a desperate fist smashed directly into Pice's face. Yushin Go gasped in shock. He's lost vision in both eyes now. How can he possibly continue to fight? Ma Kim refused to accept defeat. He survived the impossible. If Minho keeps up this pressure, victory is still within reach. But the assistant shook his head grimly. Impossible. The boy's unconscious. The president froze. Minho lay there, his fist still raised by sheer willpower alone. Amanda Groh shouted, panic rising in her voice. "Get up. You have to move immediately before the predator finds you." Pice rose from the ashes, a twisted smile on his face. "I am completely blind now." A new, electric sensation surged through every nerve in his body. He began to prowl the arena. Confusion gave way to wonder as a new world painted itself in his mind. What is this sensation? Sight was obsolete. He could smell everything from the dust on the floor to the smallest grains of sand. The rhythm of his opponent's breath was deafeningly clear. He felt the air itself shift and dance with his every movement. Ecstasy filled his voice. "I can see everything, even what lies behind me." In that moment, he grasped the true, insane potential of the drug coursing through his veins. Thrilled, he laughed maniacally. "I sought only strength, but I received divinity. I am becoming more powerful by the second. Consider this a gift for my awakening." He made his choice. He would end Minho Kim's life right here and now. Without a shred of hesitation, he launched himself forward. Minho lay paralyzed, his body betraying him. In the face of death, he cried out for the one person he lost. Brother. The tragic image of his brother's broken body on the floor flooded his mind. The vow he made that day burned in his soul. "I will find you, no matter the cost." The memory shifted a mysterious stranger, a business card, a path to the killer. Back in the arena, Minho screamed into the void as Pice leaped to deliver the final execution. Silence. The world ground to a halt. The enemy's fist froze, suspended mere inches from his face. Minho's eyes snapped open in surprise. Why? Is everything moving in slow motion? Realization struck like lightning. Time hadn't slowed. He had transcended speed. Crash. Pice's fist pulverized the ground where Minho's head had been a microsecond ago. But Minho was gone. He had already propelled himself to the far side of the arena. The crowd gasped. What just happened? Pice knelt in the rubble, bewildered. How did he get over there? Minho dusted himself off. While you were busy bragging about your senses, I took a nice nap. His aura flared. I'm ready for round 2. Pice's grin vanished. This wasn't a bluff. The boy was faster. Dangerously faster than before. The young challenger smirked. Let's see if you can keep up. He dropped into his battle stance, starting with level 1. Pice's senses screamed a warning. Minho Kim was already charging. Clang. The strike was blocked. Just luck, Minho wondered. No. Let's try again. He decided to dial up the intensity. He unleashed a punch, but Pice weaved through it. The young man's eyes widened at the unnatural speed. He retreated, but Pice dodged yet another blow effortlessly. How? Minho gasped. How are you keeping up? Pice sneered. I hear your heart pumping. I feel your movements. I have no blind spots anymore. Minho gritted his teeth. Mediocre attacks won't work. He realized he had to risk it all on one decisive move. He prepared to unleash maximum velocity. The fighter lunged forward, the ground shattering beneath his feet from the sheer force of his push. This is the end, right straight. He committed everything to the strike, but Pice was faster. A counterpunch exploded into Minho's face first. Pice paused, confused. Why did the boy collapse on his own in the middle of an attack? He touched his own neck, sweat pouring down. Am I okay? He thought his own neck had snapped. Was that a hallucination? Pice realized the terrifying truth. If he had taken one step closer, he would have broken my neck. The kid didn't lose. He saved his own life by tripping at the last second. Mio Kim realizes the truth. Minho's godlike speed has been rendered useless. His opponent anticipates every move before it happens. Switching tactics, Minho abandons raw speed for phantom-like footwork. Minsk watches in disbelief. The supernatural velocity is gone, replaced by the grounded rhythm of martial arts. Is he exhausted? Fighting at normal speed is a death sentence. Minsk screams for him to retreat, warning of imminent slaughter. But suddenly, impact. A heavy fist connects squarely with Pice's jaw. Minho weaves through the counterattack. Another devastating blow crashes into Pice's face. The crowd gasps in shock. He actually touched him. Minho circles his prey like a wolf, steps blurring, but his chest heaves. The stamina cost is immense. Confusion spreads through the stands. Why waste precious energy on empty feints? Is he trying to burn himself out? Minho lunges. A clean hit rattles Pice's skull. The enhanced fighter reels back, stunned that he was struck again. A barrage of fists pummels Pice's chest. The air fills with after images as Minho dances around him, a ghost in the machine. Observers are baffled by the strategy. Why feint when you can hit? But Amanda Groh sees the genius within the madness. The feints aren't waste, she realizes. They are the weapon. Bam! A bone-shaking hook digs deep into Pice's torso. Amanda dissects the battle. When he stopped feinting earlier, he became a sitting duck. He was too linear. Is he tricking Pice's vision? A man asks. No, Amanda replies, her eyes narrowing. It goes far deeper than simple sight. He is deceiving every single sense. She explains that Pice's newfound power is a double-edged sword. It makes anticipation easy, but he lacks the experience to wield it. And against advanced martial arts feints, his mind gets overloaded. Chaos reigns in his sensory processing. Minho isn't just fighting, he is orchestrating the confusion. In mere moments, the boy analyzed the limits of his enemy's foresight. A chill runs down her spine. This boy, he is far more terrifying than we ever imagined. Slipping past a lethal strike, Minho counters. His fist meets Pice's face with brutal precision. Essengo seethes with rage. You made me bet on this trash, he spits at his assistant. He's being toyed with by a child, but the assistant remains calm. Look closer, sir. The boss is confused. Does Pice look like a loser to you? Suddenly, Pice smirks. Got you. His hand clamps onto Minho from behind like a steel trap. Pice roars in triumph. My senses are absolute victory is mine. He hoists Minho into the air and slams him into the concrete. The arena goes silent in horror. But wait. The body on the ground. It scatters like smoke. Pice's eyes widen in disbelief. What I felt him, I crushed him. Minho Kim stands a few feet away, without a scratch. His opponent lies on the floor, wrestling with thin air. Why did he just suplex himself? A spectator gasps. Because Minho didn't attack his body, Amanda whispers. He attacked his brain. His brain, Seonu asks, bewildered. Minho targeted the head relentlessly, she explains. With every impact, the brain rattled inside the skull. He struck again before the vibrations could cease. Imagine having heightened senses while your brain is vibrating like a bell. Focus became impossible. He induced a total sensory failure. Pice hallucinated a capture that never happened. He was fighting a ghost. Sprawled on the ground, Pice stares at the ceiling. How? How can his natural senses beat my enhancements, and the bitterness of defeat tastes like ash? Consciousness fades, and Pice goes limp. The battle is over. A drone hovers above, its mechanical voice booming. Pice is unable to continue. Winner Minho Kim. The victor staggers, the adrenaline crashing down. High above, Yuzgo smashes the table in fury, cursing his lost fortune. Kneeling in the center of the arena, Minho looks up. His voice cracks with desperation. Brother, where are you? Xiang Yuni-cha watches with cold eyes. This was no human duel, she muses. Now I see why my brothers are so obsessed with this tournament. Her companion leans in, voice low. It is not just about the fighting, my lady. This arena grants the elite their darkest desires, power, wealth, murder without consequence, and drugs that leave no trace. It is a twisted paradise for those who have everything and feel nothing. That is why the VIPs gamble their very pride here. Uni nods slowly. So that is why my second brother is so desperate to crush the eldest. And the man continues. The director chose his champion well. His recruiter knows the secrets of this underworld. Then we make our move, she declares. But first, we must see his true potential. The next match will decide everything. As Seonu Kang gears up for war, deep in the shadows, eyes remain glued to a glowing monitor, watching Minho Kim's every breath. In a sterile lab, a scientist approaches the wing director. Sir, all 16 VIPs have entered the facility. The director turns, his face hidden beneath thick bandages. A full house, he rasps. I expect magnificent results this year. Now, tell me of the research. We have confirmed it, sir. Stage 2 sensory enhancement is stable. Short-term side effects have dropped by nearly 20%. However, the scientist hesitates. The regenerative factor is absent. Not a single subject has shown the healing we sought, and the director tilts his head. So, you call it a failure? No, sir, the scientist exclaims quickly. The drug is only just awakening. The true metamorphosis begins now. Our harvest is close at hand. The researcher reveals a sinister breakthrough, confirming that the drug has evolved. And within its chemical makeup lies the key to unlocking true regenerative abilities. The director's eyes narrow, realizing he speaks of the iron skin mutation, and demands to know when this monstrous power can be field tested. With a cold smile, the man replies that the wait is over, for the gladiator chosen for the next bloodbath in the main arena is already suiting up. In the waiting room, Kai sits in suffocating silence, while elsewhere, Seonu Kang stretches casually beside his handler, treating this death match like a morning workout. The handler warns Seonu to forfeit the moment things get ugly, but the young man's eyes are steel, calmly stating that defeat is simply not in the cards today. Perplexed by this unnatural calm, the man asks if he feels even a shred of fear, but Seonu merely shakes his head, his pulse steady as a rock. The handler realizes he is dealing with a deviant, another monster in human skin. Suddenly, a drone hovers over them while Amanda Grace watches from the sidelines. The mechanical voice commands player Seonu Kang to enter the killing floor, prompting Seonu to wonder when exactly his fear response died. Since childhood, he has walked through the valley of the shadow of death, surviving catastrophes that would have shattered ordinary minds. Even when facing fatal odds, he always emerged without a scratch, and though he used to weep from the shock of survival, that too faded away. Years passed, and the concept of danger lost its meaning. He became an unshakable void, provoking bullies who tried desperately to get a reaction out of him. No matter how brutal their torment, they could not make him flinch. His spirit was an impenetrable fortress. In the end, the predators became the prey, terrified of his emptiness. Now, the only thing that haunts him is the safety of his family, not some arena gladiator like Kai. High above in the VIP box, Wucha notes the tension rising and demands to know what experimental cocktail Kai has ingested. Minho Kim reveals that Kai is fueled by the skin-strengthening serum, but Wucha fails to see how mere durability guarantees a win. Minho explains with a dark grin that it is not just defense. Kai's last opponent had his flesh and muscle stripped from his bones by the sheer friction of the impact. One is horrified, asking how hardened skin can turn a man into a living shredder. Minsol clarifies that Kai's skin is harder than steel, mere contact acts like a rasp, tearing human tissue to ribbons and flaying muscles with a single grapple. He adds that the bloodthirsty VIPs are pouring money onto Kai. Yeo-un hesitates, wondering if the professional fighter with the iron body is the only logical choice. Machok displays the odds on his tablet, confirming that the world is betting on the monster, leaving Seonu with 0 backers. But suddenly, the screen flashes red. A massive wager of 100 million won has been dropped on Seonu out of nowhere. Yeo-un loses his composure, demanding to know which lunatic would make such a reckless bet, unaware that in another private suite, Seon Yun-cha watches intensely. Her companion looks at her with concern, asking if she is truly certain about throwing a fortune away on a high schooler. She replies with ice in her voice that high rewards require high risks, and she must gamble with fate itself to overtake her brothers in the succession war. Seon-yoon decides that this boy will either be her golden goose or a catastrophic failure, but the die is cast. The drone announces the start of the slaughter between Kai and Seonu Kang. Seonu drops into a stance, his eyes burning with the will to survive. However, he notices Kai standing casually, arms down, and demands to know if the so-called pro intends to fight or just stand there. Kai scoffs, declaring that he is a noble warrior of the octagon, not a thug who beats on helpless children for sport. The giant steps forward, offering a single strike with a fraction of his power. He warns the kid to stay down, then launches a heavy kick into Seonu's torso. Seonu collapses to his knees. Wucha sighs, believing the match is over after witnessing such a bone-rattling blow. The man with glasses leans over the rail, panic setting in, declaring that he needs to flee before the bloodshed gets worse. But Minho Kim observes closely, noting that the boy is silent, not screaming in agony, which confuses the terrified spectator. He realizes that Kai held back, intending only to instill terror. The man asks if Kai is showing mercy to the young challenger. Minho denies it instantly. This is not mercy, it is vanity. Kai refuses to fight seriously because crushing a student would stain his reputation. To him, this is a farce. He is silently commanding Seonu to submit and save them both the embarrassment of a real fight. Kai looms over the boy, hissing that he was supposed to feign unconsciousness, not just kneel there in silence. He sneers that complaining is useless and offers the boy one last chance to play his part in this charade. Seonu cuts him off mid-sentence, shocking the giant. The boy rises to his feet, asking if Kai is trying to win a debate or a fight. Furious, Kai prepares to unleash his true power. Kai roars, launching a devastating high kick aimed at Seonu's head, but Seonu ducks with supernatural reflexes and sweeps the giant's supporting leg. The entire arena gasps in unison, their minds unable to process the underdog's lightning-fast counterattack. Kai screams in rage, shouting that he told the brat to stay down, rushing forward to crush him with a massive punch. The young man leans back like a reed in the wind, the punch missing by millimeters. Kai stares in disbelief at the impossible dodge. Seonu defies gravity, vaulting over the giant's shoulders in a blur of motion and delivering a humiliating slap to the back of Kai's head. Wucha watches, mouth agape. Kai stammers that he was merely giving the kid a chance. Seonu retorts coldly, asking if a man brought to his knees by a student has any right to speak of chances. He looks down on the professional fighter, declaring that a coward who kneels is not even worth the effort of a punch. Kai realizes that if the boy cannot even feign resistance to save his own life, he must force the survival instinct out of him. He clamps his hands onto Seonu's shoulders, intending to terrify him into fighting back. But the young man freezes, paralyzed by the sudden overwhelming pressure. Kai announces he will unleash 50% of his true power. In a flash, he delivers a thunderous headbutt directly to Seonu's skull. Impact. Kai winces, wondering if he used too much force as pain shoots through his own head, but suddenly, a foot flies toward his chin. Seonu uses the recoil to launch a desperate counter kick. The strike connects, sending Kai staggering backward as Seonu lands on his feet. Kai is baffled. How is the kid still standing after taking a direct hit? Seonu stumbles, shaking his head as he complains that his vision is still spinning. Kai wastes no time and rushes in with a lethal punch. The blow barely grazes the boy, yet the sheer wind pressure shreds Seonu's shirt to ribbons. Mr. Kang watches in disbelief, his jaw dropping as he questions how a mere graze could tear fabric like paper. Minho Kim warns that the assault is far from over. Kai drives a brutal elbow into Seonu's spine, raising his fist to deliver a skull-crushing finish. "Stop! You will kill him!" Mr. Kang screams in terror. Seonu collapses to the cold floor, with Kai looming over him like the Reaper. Mr. Kang shouts that this has gone too far, but Minho Kim interrupts, murmuring that the situation has become something entirely defying logic. Minho wonders what kind of creature Seonu actually is. Even Kai stares down, confused by the boy lying motionless before him. He realizes the truth. A split second before the elbow connected, Seonu had intentionally slammed his own head into the ground. Kai narrows his eyes, questioning if such a reckless move could possibly be a calculated strategy. He decides it was impossible. The boy was likely just thrashing in blind fear. Still, he wonders if the kid thinks his skull is made of reinforced steel. Suddenly, Seonu begins to stir. Kai is shocked. The boy is rising again, despite having no stimulants in his system. Mr. Kang trembles, unable to comprehend the monster he is witnessing. Minho narrows his gaze. This proves that Seonu is no ordinary child. A chill runs down Minho's spine as he senses a dark potential within the boy. Seonu Kang steadies his breathing and raises his fists, entering his fighting stance. Kai scoffs, telling him to drop the tough guy act. If Seonu had just stayed down and pretended to be knocked out, he would have spared him. But the young warrior cuts him off, annoyed by the mumbling. He challenges Kai, daring him to prove his strength instead of just running his mouth. Kai's expression darkens. To break this kid's spirit, he decides he must demonstrate the absolute gap in their power. He spreads his arms wide, leaving his chest completely open. He tells Seonu to strike wherever he pleases, promising he will not lift a finger to defend. The boy's arrogance lights a fire in Kai's gut. Kai had risked his very life, sacrificing everything to become the ultimate weapon. He had crushed every opponent in the ring, climbing a mountain of bodies. But mere sport was never enough to satisfy his hunger. He believed that a true warrior is forged only in the fires of death. To evolve, he needed to survive battles where killing intent was the only law. So he hunted down the most vicious criminals in rival gangs, fighting solely to level up his existence and ascend to the peak of martial arts. That is why he refuses to take a child seriously. Kai sneers, encouraging Seonu to hit him, claiming his attacks will be like a mosquito biting iron. Seonu steps in and drives a heavy punch straight into Kai's abs. The crowd holds its breath, waiting for the reaction. Kai catches the fist, declaring the blow felt like nothing. But for a fleeting second, shock flickers across his face. Seonu simply states he will hit him again. Bam! Another punch lands, burying itself deep into the pit of Kai's stomach. Kai stands stunned, his mind struggling to process the unexpected weight behind the strike. Seonu presses the advantage, launching a high kick aimed at the head, but Kai's instincts scream, and he snaps his arm up to block the impact. Irritated by his own defensive reflex, Kai prepares a devastating counter. Seonu senses the danger and realizes he must dodge or die. Kai unleashes a piston-like punch to the chest. The impact tears through Seonu's clothes and bruises the skin beneath. The young man is rattled by the raw power. He scrambles back to create distance as Kai, now enraged, prepares to hunt him down. Kai demands to know how many chances the boy expects to get. But Seonu just lets out a breathless laugh. Kai pauses, asking if he finds this funny. Seonu asks if Kai has already forgotten his own rules. He rips the remains of his shirt from his body, revealing a chiseled, battle-ready physique. The spectator with glasses gasps, asking where a high schooler hides muscles like that. Seonu smirks, taunting Kai for breaking his promise to not defend himself. Kai turns, his face twisting with a mix of shame and fury as he admits his mistake. He acknowledges that Seonu is not just a prop for the show, but he warns the boy not to forget who forced this escalation. Kai flares his aura, declaring he will now use 100% of his power. Instead of fear, a wide, feral grin spreads across Seonu Kang's face. The glasses-wearing man thinks the boy has gone insane from terror, but Amanda disagrees. Noting that Seonu does not look afraid, he looks thrilled. The man panics, pointing out that a legendary fighter is about to crush the boy with full force. Amanda explains the truth. Seonu is smiling because, for the first time, a monster like Kai has acknowledged him as a worthy opponent. The man cannot understand how someone could enjoy a death match, but Amanda whispers that she knows exactly how that feels. She recalls how men would underestimate her for being a woman, but the moment they unleashed their full power against her, the rush was so intense her heart would pound like a war drum. He questions her sudden composure, demanding to know why a chilling smile has crept onto her face amidst the tension. Minho Kim interrupts, his voice low, admitting he recognizes that twisted expression because he knows the thrill of bloodlust all too well. Memories flood back of a time when the world branded him weak and insignificant. The only time he felt truly alive was in the heat of combat, dodging fists and landing that one perfect counterstrike. A dark grin spreads across Minho Kim's face as he recalls the terror in their eyes when they finally realized he was a predator, not prey. The bespectacled observer adjusts his glasses, finally understanding the gravity of the situation. Seonu possesses the indomitable heart of a true warrior. In the center of the arena, the atmosphere explodes as the two combatants charge. Seonu decides to seize the initiative with a lethal strike. He launches a devastating punch, but Kai intercepts it with a forearm block that echoes through the hall. Mr. Kang winces at the thunderous sound of the impact, assuming Kai was caught off guard. But Seonu instantly realizes the horrifying truth. His opponent's skin is as hard as reinforced concrete. Kai's eyes flash with menace as he promises to return the favor tenfold. With a single earth-shattering blow, he slams Seonu into the floor. The entire arena trembles from the force. Spectators gasp, declaring Kai is in a league of his own, as the kinetic energy sends Seonu launching helplessly into the air. Crashing back down, Seonu gasps desperately for oxygen. The observer notes he managed to roll with the impact, but Minho Kim grimly corrects him it wasn't a clean dodge. A gruesome wound opens on Seonu's back. A strange, alien sensation begins to crawl beneath his skin. Seonu questions his own trembling hands. Is this terror? He glares at the monster before him, asking himself if he is truly afraid of this man. Kai mocks him, taunting him to admit his cowardice, declaring that a weakling like Seonu will never surmount this wall. Shut your mouth! Seonu snaps back, his eyes burning with intensity. He declares he isn't the only monster in this ring, bracing himself to mirror every move Kai makes. He lunges with a ferocious attack, but hits nothing but air. He skids across the ground, barely recovering his balance. Kai announces it is his turn to dominate. The observer in glasses widens his eyes, realizing Kai is winding up for a brutal headbutt. But Seonu intercepts him with a headbutt of his own. Bone cracks against bone as he proves that anything Kai can do, he can master instantly. Seonu stumbles back, body trembling, lungs burning. Kai scoffs, claiming the match is over, noting Seonu's attacks are nothing but desperate brute force until he sees the boy smiling. Kai freezes, unnerved by the sight. Why is his opponent grinning while at death's door? Kai steps forward, vowing to put him out of his misery. The observer watches in shock as steam begins to rise from Seonu's body. His very blood and sweat are evaporating from the heat of his aura. Seonu confesses he used to despise fighting. Being dragged into endless brawls made him feel like he was losing his humanity, turning into a beast. But now he wonders if the madness has consumed him, because he cannot wipe this grin off his face. He admits it, he can no longer suppress the urge to destroy the man in front of him. As Kai charges, Seonu leaps, delivering a savage kick to the face. Defying gravity, he grabs Kai's head in midair. Kai's eyes widen in shock. The speed is impossible. Seonu delivers a thunderous midair headbutt. Using the momentum, he spins Kai around and hurls him violently into the steel cage wall. Kai watches Seonu recover, realizing this boy is no longer acting human. The young fighter leaps again, smashing Kai's skull against the structure with reckless abandon. He locks him in a grapple, whispering, "Got you!" Seonu drives a piston-like punch directly into his opponent's face. He unleashes a torrential barrage of strikes to Kai's body. The final blow connects like a cannonball, sending Kai flying across the ring. He wonders what kind of adrenaline is pumping through this kid's veins. Does this demon ever tire? Seonu charges again. Kai manages a desperate defensive kick to create distance. Seonu stumbles, but Kai's follow-up kick misses the mark. Seonu recovers instantly, landing a 1-2 combo squarely on Kai's nose. Kai is stunned, his vision blurring. Seonu connects with a devastating uppercut to the chin. The crowd watches in stunned silence, unable to breathe. The fighters stand motionless. Mr. Kang asks if Kai has bled out, but Amanda immediately corrects him that Crimson Pool does not belong to Kai. She reveals the horrifying truth: the blood is pouring from Seonu's own shattered knuckles. The young fighter feels intoxicated by the violence, even as his body screams in agony, tearing itself apart from the inside out. Sunyun-cha wonders how Kai is still standing after that assault. The man in sunglasses explains the grim reality: Kai's skin acts like organic armor. Every time Seonu strikes, he destroys his own hands. She asks with a trembling voice if her companion has any hope of victory against such a monster. The observer admits he has never witnessed such tolerance for pain. However, Kai is not invincible. His eyes are swollen shut, and he has reached his physical limit. Kai decides to shatter Seonu's legs to end this nightmare. He charges with a bone-breaking low kick, but the young warrior checks the kick perfectly. Kai cannot comprehend his reaction speed. Seonu lands another punch to the face, his own fist tearing open further upon impact. Seeing the boys resolve, Kai accepts the nature of this duel. They will fight until one of them is reduced to meat scraps. He rushes in for the kill. The two trade a violent flurry of blows, blood spraying with every impact. Seonu wonders if he is doing any damage at all, as numbness claims his destroyed hands. He realizes his stamina is failing. Kai notices the change the kid's accuracy is dropping, and the skin on his fist is flayed raw. A strange sensation pulses through Seonu's fist, the feeling of hitting a limit. His punches are losing power. He cannot afford to waste another second. Kai spots the fatal opening in Seonu's guard and prepares to unleash the ultimate technique he has honed for over a decade. Kai winds up and unleashes a devastating low kick. The blow connects squarely with Seonu's leg. "Your legs are finished," Kai screams, launching another assault, but Seonu checks it, shin against shin in a brutal collision. The man in glasses gasps, realizing Seonu countered the strike with pure bone. The sound of shattering calcium echoes through the arena. That sickening crack confirms it. The bone is snapped. Seonu grits his teeth, fighting back the agony threatening to consume him. He realizes his muscles have torn. He's rooted to the spot, but Kai, oblivious to his own ruin, charges in for the final kill. Kai roars that the match is over, but his leg betrays him at the critical moment. He freezes, confusion flooding his eyes. He collapses to his knees. Kai wonders if this is a nightmare. The crowd watches in stunned silence, unable to process the turn of events. Only Seonu remains standing, a lone wolf over his prey. Cha spins to his assistant, demanding to know what just happened. Miso Kim explains with a smirk. The skin-hardening drug was a trap. It masked the pain, but the damage kept piling up. Kai didn't feel a thing until it was too late. Now, his limbs are nothing but a spiderweb of fractures. The drone descends, declaring Kai incapacitated. Seonu Kang is the winner. The boy lets out a primal roar of triumph. The spectator in glasses trembles in despair. Why won't he go down? It's like fighting a zombie. Miso Kim narrows his eyes, sensing a hidden depth. That boy. Seonu is concealing a dangerous secret. Collapsed on the canvas, Seonu whispers. "Mother, just hold on." Elsewhere, a bandaged figure demands to know if the boy is truly clean. An assistant confirms the records. He didn't use a drop of enhancement. We'll verify again during the post-match exam. The bandaged figure chuckles darkly. "First, unearth his origins. Start by squeezing his parents." Meanwhile, torrential rain hammers the city hospital. Inside, Seonu's mother keeps a silent vigil over her husband, who clings to life on machines. The door creaks open. The heavy atmosphere shifts, and she turns, sensing a disturbance. Visiting hours are over, she warns, but two ominous suits loom behind her. Back at the arena, medics rush Seonu's battered body away. Cha scoffs, doubting the boy's future. He's broken trash now. Can he even survive the next round? Miso Kim intervenes. "We delay the decision. During the medical exam, I'll administer a covert compatibility test." Cha blinks in surprise. The assistant adds, "If he survives the second test, Seonu becomes our ace in the hole." The man asks, "Is running a secret experiment on a player even permitted?" "It's merely a doping compatibility check." The assistant dismisses. Cha presses, "And if the rat fails the experiment, then he is waste." The assistant replies coldly, "We discard him and execute Plan B immediately." In the sterile lab, the treatment chamber hisses open. A hazmat-clad figure approaches, a glowing syringe poised to strike. Yusengo's assistant calculates rapidly. "If we play our cards right, one more victory catapults him into the top 16. Cha corrects him. One win secures the top 31. Factor in the gambling revenue, and he could crack the top 16. The assistant nods in agreement. However, Cha remains skeptical. Who would bet on a crippled horse? His injuries are catastrophic. "That's the hook," the assistant counters. 2 rounds won purely on grit. No one has ever won a single match here without doping. Reaching the top 62 drug-free, the VIPs will lose their minds. The bets on his next fight will be astronomical. Cha sneers. "A fairy tale. He dies without the juice. We should back a surer bet." "The boy isn't stupid," the assistant assures. "He knows the drug is the only way to save his family now." Cha decides. Fine, but if his body rejects the enhancement, flush him down the drain regardless of the result. The man nods grimly. I've already prepped the kill switch on the hospital funds and his parents' security detail. His boss laughs cruelly. Perfect. If he fails, Seonu won't be alive to mourn them anyway. Results inbound, the assistant announces. Cha grins. The perks of having a killer for a secretary. He leans in, eyes narrowing. Tell me, why do you dance with death like this? It's not for my sake. I gamble with my own life, sir. Cha scoffs. I know my ambition to crush my brother and seize the Hosen group, but you... The assistant's eyes burn with fanaticism. My crusade is simple. To engineer the ultimate human weapon, I will risk everything for it. And I will sacrifice anyone who stands in the way of that evolution. Cha sighs, entertained. I do enjoy that twisted passion of yours. Suddenly, the agent bursts in, warning it's time to move. The verdict? The assistant demands. The agent stammers, Sir, it's impossible. There was zero reaction. The assistant freezes, realization dawning. The enhancement? It didn't take. The drugs are useless on him. Yooncha's eyes blazed with fury. He barked in order to scorch the earth and eliminate all evidence, starting by severing the financial lifeline to the boy's parents. But then, a darker thought crossed his mind. Why complicate things? It would be far simpler to just silence them forever. Meanwhile, inside the sterile silence of the recovery ward, Seonu lay motionless within the healing chamber. Tension thickened in the combat wing lobby as dozens of warriors gathered. Minho Kim scanned the crowd, realizing that the 62 survivors had finally been chosen. The man with glasses narrowed his eyes. He noticed Seonu was missing and deduced that the fierce battle had left him confined to the recovery ward. Minho nodded, reasoning that rest was a warrior's best weapon until the next round began. He started to wish Seonu a good recovery, but his attention was suddenly snapped away by Amanda's intense warm-up routine. She spoke without breaking her flow, noting that the boy looked exhausted from the very moment he stepped into the arena. Minho rubbed his chin thoughtfully. In this hell, victory usually came at the cost of blood and broken bones, just like his fight with Seonu. Yet, he pointed out a terrifying fact: those two had reached the top 62 without a single scratch. His gaze shifted to the man with glasses, locking onto that peculiar right arm of his. No one had anticipated a mutation like that. The man offered a cryptic smile, claiming even he was surprised by his limb's monstrous transformation. As for Amanda, her opponent made the fatal mistake of looking down on a woman. He held back his strikes, only to be obliterated by a single devastating blow. Minho frowned. He had watched it happen. Yet her strike was so blindingly fast that his eyes couldn't even trace the moment of impact. Unable to contain his curiosity, Minho Kim asked the question burning in his mind. How exactly did you do that? She turned, her expression icy. Why would I reveal my cards? She countered. For all I know, you are the next target I will have to crush. Suddenly, Mainon swaggered into the circle, demanding attention. He puffed out his chest, bragging loudly that he was the very first to secure a victory in this bloodbath. A mechanical voice boomed through the hall, congratulating the warriors who had clawed their way into the top 62. The announcement continued. Defeating just one more opponent would grant them a golden ticket, a chance to bypass the ranks and ascend straight to the top 16. Once they survived the round of 31, their worth would be decided by the gamblers' wagers. And for the few who survived the round of 16, a massive prize awaited 5% of all bets placed. A roar erupted from the fighters. The promise of wealth ignited a fire in their eyes. The voice urged them to fight without fear of death, to spill their blood for the entertainment of the VIPs. Then, the moment of truth arrived. The matchups were about to be unveiled. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the Hosen Group headquarters, the conspiracy deepened. Yooncha demanded to know if there were other pawns available besides Seonu. Yu Chen-go's assistant bowed, confirming that they had options. He presented a profile on a tablet, a fighter radiating lethal potential. Yooncha asked for the name, and the assistant revealed a twist. It was none other than Seonu's next opponent, Ryo Icha. Back in the chamber, Seonu's eyes snapped open. He stumbled out of the pod, a scream for his mother tearing from his throat. It wasn't a nightmare. He had heard every word. A figure in a hazmat suit confirmed his worst fears, coldly mentioning the order to liquidate his parents if the drugs failed to work. Panic and rage surged through Seonu. He had to escape this prison immediately before it was too late. Inside the director's office, the atmosphere was heavy. The director turned to the arriving doctor, demanding the results of Seonu's medical analysis. The doctor's eyes gleamed behind his lenses. "We found something," he whispered. "Something extraordinary." He explained that the boy possessed a constitution that rejected their enhancements. Seonu's bone density was monstrous, 10 times that of a normal human. The director was stunned by the data, but the doctor raised a hand. "That is not all," he said, signaling that the true shock was yet to come. "His recovery speed defies logic," the doctor declared, pulling up the charts. "I corrected the diagnosis. This isn't just healing. It's regeneration." The director's jaw tightened. This changed everything. The doctor theorized that Seonu held the key to the immortality serum they sought. Realizing the boy was now their most valuable asset, the director barked. "Have we secured his parents?" The doctor hesitated, trembling as he apologized. His superior slammed the desk, demanding the reason for this incompetence. When our team arrived, the doctor stammered. The house was empty. Someone else had gotten to them first. In his cell, Seonu shot up, adrenaline flooding his system. His instincts screamed that his parents were in mortal danger every second he wasted here. But as he scanned the room, despair hit him. It was a sealed box, not even a vent for air to pass through. Gritting his teeth, he lunged for the door, desperate to find a weakness. Suddenly, the lock hissed, and the door slid open to reveal a figure standing in the threshold. A young woman stepped in, eyeing him with amusement. "So, this is the monster up close," she mused, introducing herself as Sunungi-cha. Seonu glared, his voice a low growl. "Move, now!" She didn't flinch. "I wouldn't go looking for your parents if I were you," she said coolly, freezing him in his tracks, "because I am the one keeping them safe." Miles away in Yuncha's executive suite, the air was thick with tension. Yuncha demanded clarification. "What do you mean, someone got there first?" The assistant reported the impossible disappearance, suggesting that only the combat wing possessed the resources to pull off such a clean extraction. Yuncha scoffed. He knew the combat wing's reputation well. They were swift executioners who erased problems before they could even begin. A twisted smile formed on Yuncha's face. "Then luck is on our side," he chuckled. "They did our dirty work for us." His eyes narrowed as he turned back to business. "Have you made contact with the next fighter?" The assistant bowed low, assuring him it was done. "In the combat wing, VVIPs are gods," he explained. "We can summon any fighter to our private chambers at will." His assistant trembles, asking if he is truly casting them into the jaws of those monsters. But Yucha merely smiles, confirming the ruthless order. However, a warning cuts through the tension. Wandering the wing carelessly is a death sentence. Only the VVIP suite offers sanctuary. Meanwhile, inside the recovery room, the lock clicks shut. Seoyeon seals them in. Seonu's eyes blaze with fury. He demands the truth about his parents, but Seoyeon hisses for silence, one wrong word, and they die. She declares that escape is meaningless now. Seonu strikes her hand away, his patience shattering. He demands an explanation immediately. She reveals the grim reality. The enemy is erasing all evidence. And Seonu's parents, they are the first loose ends to be cut. Worse yet, the loan sharks he crushed are hunting him down like bloodhounds. She risked everything coming here alone to protect his family. Suspicion clouds Seonu's gaze. Who is she really? She steps forward, her eyes locking onto his. She needs only one thing. Her finger points straight at his heart. She needs him. Confusion strikes him. Then the bombshell drops. She is one of the 16 VVIPs, and she needs a champion for the blood sport. Do not let her age fool you. Until recently, she held the reins of the massive Hosen group. The truth comes out. She is the half-sister of the very man who enslaved him. Her brother's schemes exiled her, but she remains unbowed. Her own empire stands strong. She didn't fall. She stepped aside. Yet, a fire still burns within her. She refuses to watch. Her brothers destroy their father's legacy. Seonu cuts through the politics. What does this corporate war have to do with his parents? It is a game of shadows. Siblings spying on siblings. And her eyes have been fixed on her second brother's every move. When her brother moved heaven and earth to recruit Seonu, she investigated the source, his parents. What she found was shocking. Seonu is a monster in human skin. She could not let her brother control such extraordinary genetic potential. Seonu freezes. His genes, what does she know about his bloodline? She deflects. The why doesn't matter, only the danger does. The wolves are already circling his family. If escape is impossible, what remains? She looks him dead in the eye. There is only one path to survival. Seonu asks for the answer. Her command is simple yet crushing. You must win. She lays out the master plan. She will bet everything on the Combat Wing Championship. A victory means her brother rots in prison, and the loan sharks are silenced with gold. But doubt gnaws at Seonu. He questions the worth of promises made in the shadows. She scoffs. In the Combat Wing, a broken vow is punishable by death. He challenges her resolve. Is she truly willing to bet her life on a street thug like him? It is not charity. It is necessity. She reveals the cruel rule of the finals. Anyone fun without a VVIP sponsor is eliminated instantly. Still, Seonu resists. How can he trust the wealthy with his parents' lives? She explains the isolation. No phones, no signals. They are cut off from the world. She cannot offer proof, but she offers something stronger. She knows the secrets his parents hide. The secrets of their past, the terrifying origin of his power, the truth about his genes. Adrenaline spikes. He grabs her, demanding the truth right now. Click. The door unlatches. She pulls away, reminding him she is the only shield his parents have. Escape is not an option. A surveillance drone hums into the room. Time has run out. She offers one last look of icy determination. Forget the rest, she commands. Just win for me. Meanwhile, in the grim barracks of Dorm 10, fighters gather like vultures. The prize pool has skyrocketed. Eyes glued to the rankings, they mock the bottom name. Seonu is dead last. A rookie sneers. He's fresh meat from the recovery room. Who bets on a cripple? The drone announces his return. Seonu Kang steps in, looking far too healthy for a victim. The steel door slams shut. A veteran eyes him up. Seonu ignores the taunt, asking how the man fights unscathed. Seonu drops his guard. He needs the top 16. His family's survival depends on it. He begs for guidance. He will do anything, bear any pain. Desperation drips from his voice. Silence follows. Just as hope fades, a voice cuts in. A woman suggests a finishing move. Seonu blinks. A what? She steps into the light. In this hell, raw strength isn't enough. You need a signature kill shot. The veteran analyzes him. What is your weapon? He points to Seonu's legs. The calf kick. Simple, brutal, effective. He comments on the terrifying precision and speed of his leg control, recalling the clash with Kai, where Seonu blocked a low kick with sheer bone density. As he demonstrates the lethal technique, he reveals a crucial secret. The calf kick has evolved into a one-hit finisher capable of shattering an opponent's will. He challenges Seonu to unleash that same destructive power. The impact echoes through the room, leaving the instructor stunned. He grins, acknowledging that Seonu possesses a monstrous talent. Suddenly, a thunderous boom shakes the very ceiling above them. The veteran fighter glances up, sensing a disturbance. Far away, Ryo-icha, the 15th ranked Kudo master, is training his punches, hitting with enough force to quake the entire building. Back in the dorms, the War Council continues their strategic planning. Yu Seong-go urges Seonu to master the calf kick to secure his survival and the prize money, but Menon suddenly cuts in, declaring that he is dead wrong. Seonu whips around, his eyes narrowing at the rude interruption. Manon scoffs, claiming the entire world knows Seonu's true ultimate weapon isn't some fancy kick. He taps Seonu's forehead, revealing the brutal truth. His real finisher is the headbutt. He reminds them how Seonu tanked a Lethwei champion's skull-crushing blows multiple times. Manon concludes with a dark grin. Seonu standing tall proves his skull is the hardest weapon in this hellhole. Yu Seong-go interjects. His voice grave, a headbutt is a double-edged sword that destroys both the attacker and the victim. He argues it is suicide against the monsters of the combat ward. One wrong move means death by brain hemorrhage in under 2 rounds. Manon laughs in the face of danger, asking if they didn't all sign their death warrants the moment they entered this tournament. His eyes go cold as he warns them hesitate against the top rankers, and you will be a corpse before you hit the floor. But Manon waves it off, telling Useong not to worry about Seonu. He is actually analyzing his own upcoming prey. The giant screen flares to life with the next matchup, Min-Soo Han versus Usyk Park. Deep within the restricted zone, the director scrolls through a fighter's vitals on his tablet. A twisted smile forms as he notes that Min-Soo Han's assimilation with the drug is absolutely terrifying. Surrounded by ominous containment tanks, the director praises the acquisition. A doctor approaches, and the superior remarks he must be proud of his son's power. The doctor bows deeply, his voice trembling as he attributes everything to the director's grace. Internally, the doctor desperately convinces himself there was no other way. His mind drifts back to the days before the combat ward consumed his soul. Back then, a rare disease was eating his son alive, devouring his muscles until he couldn't even stand without begging for help. Despair crushed the doctor's heart. He was just a salaried physician, powerless to stop the inevitable. But in his darkest hour, a mysterious summons arrived from the hospital director, a man he had never even met. He never imagined why he was called to the hospital crematorium, led down a hidden staircase into a secret underworld. The hallway opened into a nightmare, countless human subjects suspended in glowing containment tanks. A list of vanished celebrities and missing scientists appeared. But the doctor only cared about one thing. His eyes locked onto the terrifying results of the experimental drug trials. Tears streamed down his face at the data. The director whispered from the shadows, asking if he was thinking of his dying boy. Then came the devil's offer, let his son become a subject of the experiment to save his life. He almost agreed instantly, but fear took over, and he fled back to the safety of his home. But reality was cruel. He found his son, who had claimed to be fine, attempting to end his own suffering. The doctor saved him just in time, the illusion of their fine life shattering. The boy wept in his father's arms. He begged his father to just let him die. The doctor's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. He had no strength left. And so, he shook hands with the devil and entered the combat ward, wondering if that choice had turned him into a greater monster than the ones in the cages. Back in the brutal present, a drone commands Min-Soo Han to enter the slaughterhouse. The young man steels his resolve. The gates grind open, and he steps into the arena to face Usyk Park. Usyk Park, a master of Krav Maga, radiates lethal intent. Min-Soo Han, a practitioner of Kali Arnis, settles into a bladed stance without a blade. The robotic announcer declares the start of the death match. Explosive action. They collide in the center, and Min-Soo Han lashes out, striking his opponent's right arm with surgical speed. The crowd gasps. Minho Kim notes that even a Krav Maga expert wouldn't anticipate knife fighting techniques in a bare-knuckle brawl. But suddenly, the muscles in Usyk's arm ripple and clamp down like a vice around Min-Soo Han's hand. Min-Soo realizes he's trapped. Usyk Park grins, crushing the fingers with superhuman grip strength, and whispers, "Didn't you get a little too close for comfort?" With his free hand, he unleashes a thunderous slap. It cuts through the air, barely missing Min-Soo's face by a hair's breadth. Min-Soo Han recoils, confused by the old man's erratic movements, but Mr. Kang simply smirks, praising the punk's reflexes before vowing to return the favor twofold. Kang shifts his stance, declaring he will now use his specialty lethal knife fighting techniques high above in the VIP box. UA watches in disbelief. Who is this unknown elder pushing the 9th-ranked monster, Min-Soo, to his limit? His assistant adjusts his glasses, revealing the truth. That man is a former bodyguard, a master of the brutal art known as Krav Maga. Krav Maga, Acha tilts her head, unfamiliar with the term. The assistant explains a martial art forged for survival, created by a soldier to protect civilians. It is not for sport. It is a weapon of real-world combat, synthesizing the deadliest elements of every fighting style known to man. He emphasizes its terrifying efficiency in close-quarters combat, where every move is designed to neutralize an attacker instantly. Cha frowns skeptically. If the art is designed for protection, surely the attacks are defensive and weak, a poor match for a death match. The assistant smirks darkly. I wouldn't be so sure. In Krav Maga, the ultimate form of protection is the absolute elimination of the threat. Kang lunges. Min-Soo watches the incoming strike with cold, predatory eyes. Too slow, he thinks, boredom washing over him. The strike whistles past empty air. Min-Soo Han sidesteps effortlessly, mocking the old man's sluggish speed as he dances away. Kang tries to raise a block, but it is futile. Min-Soo's fingers move like spears, piercing straight into the old man's temple. Kang swings wildly to create distance, but Min-Soo is relentless. The ranker charges back in, determined to end this hunt immediately. Useless, Minsu sneers at Kang's unbalanced posture, but the veteran uses his arm to leverage against the ground, announcing a desperate countercharge. He throws his entire body weight forward like a cannonball. The impact is tremendous, slamming the ranker violently onto the arena floor. Minsu takes the hit directly to the face. Kang drives him into the wall, raining down blows, but the monster merely laughs through the blood. Pointless. Kang recoils, gasping for air. In that split second, Minsu strikes two precise, devastating hits to the vital points on his chest. "You managed to stop me for a second," Minsu admits, his eyes glowing with bloodlust. "Let's see how long you survive this." A storm of rapid-fire strikes explodes against Kang's body. Kang grits his teeth, his defense crumbling. He cannot track the sheer speed of a ranker. Minsu circles behind him, delivering a bone-crushing blow to the spine. The stadium falls silent, the other fighters watching in paralyzed horror. Minho Kim trembles. Is this the unbridgeable gap of the 9th rank? Is victory impossible yet? Amidst the blood and broken bones, Mr. Kang remains standing. Minsu tilts his head, his voice dripping with venom. "Why clench your fists, old man? Given up on your fancy knife tricks." Suddenly, Kang spreads his arms wide, leaving his chest completely open. Minsu pauses. Is he planning a grapple, a suicide tactic? "Tricks won't save you," Minsu roars, lunging forward with killing intent. "Just die already." Another heavy blow lands on Kang's back, but then shockingly, Kang drives his fist into his own stomach. Minho Kim gasps, but Amanda sees the truth. He's not hitting himself, he's trapping the limb. He contracted his muscles to clamp down on the fingers meant to kill him. He's caught him from the inside. "You crazy old lunatic," Minsu screams. "Trapped," Kang roars, channeling every ounce of remaining strength into a haymaker that sends Minsu flying through a reinforced window. Breathing heavily, Kang knows it is not over. "One more," he wheezes. "I just need to land one more hit." His right arm is screaming in agony, muscles torn and useless. But this is his only window of opportunity. It is do or die. He charges, just one hit, but his body betrays him, and he stumbles mid-stride, gravity taking hold. From the stands, Seonu screams, tears streaming down his face. "Dad, hang in there." Kang's vision blurs. He has lost too much blood. His arm won't lift. "I'm sorry, Seonu," he thinks, despair creeping in. "No, pull yourself together," he commands his dying body. He points his trembling hand forward. Minsu Han smirks, wiping dust from his shoulder. "Did you think you had me? I'm actually right-handed." A lethal strike flies toward Kang's head. "Father!" Seonu's scream tears through the arena. In a last act of defiance, Kang raises his hand, blocking the spear hand by letting it pierce straight through his own palm. "A desperate attempt," Minsu laughs cruelly. "But my fingers are longer than your life expectancy." He pushes deeper, aiming for the skull behind the hand. Kang coughs up a fountain of blood and crumples to the cold concrete. Seonu wails, his voice breaking. "Kang, father." "Tja." Minsu wipes the blood from his hand, sneering at the boy. "Take a good look, kid. This old man is dying because you were too weak to save him." Minsu raises his hand for the execution. Time slows. A memory surfaces, Kang holding a younger Seonu. "I need to rest," the father had said. "Just a little longer," the son had begged. "If I had just spent more time with him." Kang's fading consciousness whispers, maybe fate would have been kinder. Seonu trembles, watching the life drain from his father. Was this the closeness they always lacked? A bond forged in blood and tragedy? Will I get another chance? The boy wonders. In the memory, Kang smiles warmly. A father never leaves his son behind. "I won't leave you, Seonu, but reality is cruel." The drone's mechanical voice booms. Match ended. Winner Minsu Han. Minsu stomps his boot onto Kang's unconscious head, laughing maniacally. What a fun playground this is. Enraged, Seonu vaults over the railing, flying toward the arena. He lands, eyes burning with vengeance, facing down the monster Minsu. Drones swarm overhead, but Minho Kim notices a chilling detail: the system isn't firing. The guides are letting this happen. He calculates that the mechanical arbiters the drones will hold their fire as long as the killing intent remains suppressed. Murderous tension fills the air. Seonu Kang roars, demanding the monster remove his foot, but Minsu only sneers, daring him to try and move it himself. Reason snaps. Seonu charges like a mad bull, screaming once more, but Minho Kim intercepts, knowing he must stop this suicide mission at all costs. Manon locks Seonu in a desperate grapple from behind. Seonu thrashes like a wild beast, bellowing for freedom. Manon begs him to survive, to live long enough to unleash the technique he inherited. But as Seonu rages, Minho Kim delivers a decisive blow to silence him. "Just sleep for now," Manon whispers grimly. The adrenaline crashes, and Seonu's consciousness begins to drift into the void. Darkness takes him, and his soul cries out one name, Usik. The scene shifts to a memory, where Usik Park once asked a heavy favor regarding his own son. He wished for Seonu to become a brother to his boy, a guiding light to ensure the child never strayed down a dark path. Seonu had scoffed, replying that such a bond was already destiny, a matter of course. He confessed he still had a mountain of wisdom to learn from Usik, and protecting his bloodline was the price of that tuition. Usik had laughed, putting him in a headlock, calling him a cheeky punk for trying to bargain even in their friendship. Reality crashes back. Chilhan's boot grinds Usik Park's skull into the dirt. Around them, Seonu Kang, Minho Kim, and Minon lie scattered and broken. Chilhan gazes down at the carnage with cold, indifferent eyes, mocking their pathetic state. Suddenly, a new challenger steps in. Amanda Grow confronts the beast, demanding he leave now that he has extracted enough suffering from Seonu. Chilhan asks if she craves death, but Amanda calls his bluff, daring him to strike and trigger the guide's lethal response systems. She threatens to bludgeon him into the afterlife herself. Chilhan finally lifts his foot from Usik, sneering that her judgment day is coming, and he will slaughter them all eventually. With that chilling vow, he turns his back and saunters toward the exit like a king leaving a graveyard. Amanda rushes to Usik Park, desperation in her hands. "He's alive!" she cries out, screaming for the medical team to hustle before his flame extinguishes. Her eyes widen as she inspects the wound. It was his left hand. That single limb stood between him and death. At the last second, he diverted the fatal strike inches from his heart. The medics swarm in, rushing the fallen warrior away on a stretcher. Meanwhile, in the VIP box, Yuan Cha's assistant trembles. Minsu is a monstrosity. Yuan Cha can barely comprehend how mere human fingers became lethal weapons. The assistant explains the terrifying truth: Minsu's doping is unique. Unlike standard drugs that simply bulk muscle mass, this is evolution. His tendons, ligaments, and the very tissues binding his skeleton have been hardened into organic steel. He posits that this mutation is far more practical for slaughter than even Seonu Kang's reinforced bone structure. Yuan Cha demands they recruit him instantly, but the assistant hesitates. Minsu is the director's personal hound, impossible to poach. He hurriedly assures the VIP that the arena is full of diamonds in the rough, pointing toward the upcoming bloodbath. Yuan Cha's interest peaks. "You mean that female capoeira master?" he asks. The assistant nods. Yuan Cha dismisses it as a mere dance, but the assistant corrects him gravely: this dance was never meant for entertainment. Its roots are soaked in blood, tracing back to African slaves transported across the ocean. In the harsh lands of Brazil, they forged a weapon to survive oppression. They masked their lethal training as rhythmic movement to fool their captors. It is a martial art born not of joy, but of deep sorrow and agonizing pain. Post-independence, it became so deadly in the hands of the underworld that the government outlawed it entirely. It is a forbidden art of pure destruction. And now, entering the ring, rank 19, the capoeira specialist, Amanda Grow. The mechanical voice of the drone echoes through the arena, heralding the arrival of the gladiators. Her opponent, rank 10, the MMA striker, Hyakugo. The drone signals the commencement of violence. Amanda immediately drops into her Jenga stance, swaying like a cobra ready to strike. He stands motionless. Is he looking down on her, refusing to be mocked? She launches a ferocious opening kick. High above, Yuan Cha waves his hand. "Enough about the girl and her dance," he commands. He points to Hyakugo. "Tell me about him. As the 10th rank, he must be a monster in his own right." The assistant reveals the secret: Hyaku was a mediocre fighter until the facility's drugs awakened a terrifying gift: superhuman dynamic vision. Among the VIPs, he is whispered of as K10 seconds. The gambling odds on him are skyrocketing. The assistant explains the moniker: he annihilates every opponent in under 10 seconds. Yuan Cha's eyes light up with greed. Incredible! Not only is he fast, but he's also untouched. He ends careers without suffering a single scratch. The legend of the 10-second demon has created a frenzy of anticipation. If he defends his title here, the payout will be astronomical, and his rank will vault instantly to the top 5 Bafa. High above the arena, the drone buzzes, signaling the commencement of violence. The holographic timer flickers to life 1 single second on the clock. Hayakugo locks eyes with Amanda, his dynamic vision slowing the world to a crawl. He tracks her movement, confident in his defense, and blocks her strike with precognitive speed. But in the blink of an eye, his world inverts. Confusion paralyzes him as he stares at the ceiling, realizing too late that the cold floor is pressing against his back. He has been utterly crushed in 10 seconds. The timer freezes at exactly 10 seconds, casting a crimson glow over Amanda Grace, who stands imperiously over her fallen prey. The drone declares Amanda Grace the victor, her voice cutting through the silence as she proclaims that true speed transcends the limits of human senses. In the VVIP box, Chairman Yuncha leaps from his seat, demanding answers. His assistant explains the fatal error. Hayaku believed he only needed to block a single kick before launching his counteroffensive. Chairman Yuncha frowns, questioning the logic. Is that not the fundamental law of combat? You block, then you strike back. The assistant nods gravely. That is precisely what Hayakugo believed, and that was his undoing. He breaks down the mechanics. A devastating knockout kick usually requires the body to compress like a spring on one side, unleashing all that kinetic energy into the target. If that initial strike misses, the attacker cannot regenerate that force instantly. A follow-up mid-air would be weak, leaving them vulnerable to a counter, especially with both feet off the ground. Without the earth to push off against, there is no lever, no way to compress and store the necessary destruction. But was that not her exact position? Chairman Yuncha presses. Both feet were airborne, and her first strike had clearly failed. Correct, the assistant confirms. That is why Hayaku lowered his guard to attack, thinking she was helpless. However, the assistant continues, a glint of fear in his eyes. Hayaku overlooked one critical detail about Amanda Grace. The chairman demands to know the variable. Capoeira, the assistant reveals. It turns the entire body, arms and legs alike, into levers. He adds the terrifying truth. Amanda was injected with a power drug that amplified her muscle density, not size. The result is a biological weapon. At this moment, Amanda can generate lethal power and blinding speed from any position, defying the laws of physics. Because of this anomaly, her true ceiling of potential is terrifyingly unknown. Chairman Yuncha leans back, intrigued. It seems there are still diamonds in the rough. But his assistant warns him securing a meeting with her now will be nearly impossible. Why? The chairman demands. The assistant explains that by decimating her opponent in 10 seconds, she has likely inherited the legendary title of the 10-second king. The sharks are circling. Every high roller and VVIP who bet on the loser will now flock to her banner, seeking to control the new rising star. Chairman Yuncha scoffs, asking if his assistant is truly intimidated by a little market competition, but the assistant remains calm, assuring him there is no need to rush. The tournament is far from over. The next fighter, he confirms, is another contender for the top 4. This next match will be a spectacle, the assistant predicts. The fighter entering the ring has no choice but to burn his very life force to win. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, Minho Kim greets the recovering patient, finally awake. I see. Seonu Kang bolts upright, adrenaline still spiking. What is happening? Disoriented, Seonwoo demands to know why he is here. He frantically asks for "You suck," but his voice catches in his throat as the door slides open. Amanda Grace leans against the frame. Minho grins. He's alive. Amanda eyes him coolly. I could hear your breathing. You're not finished yet, She shifts her gaze to Minho. Your match is imminent. Shouldn't you be warming up instead of chatting? I know, Minho replies, his expression darkening. Because that opponent out there, he might be the reason I entered this hell. A flashback flickers a shadowy figure promising to help him find his brother's murderer. In the past, Minho questions the broker. How can I find a killer when I don't even know his name? The broker's voice is cold. We know he entered the combat wing, and we know he is a former professional boxer. I will provide more intelligence later, the broker promises. But rest assured, ex-boxers in the combat wing are a rare breed. Back in the present arena, the lights blaze down on Wanwoo Choi, ranked 16th, a specialist in boxing. Seeing this, The assistant begins his analysis of the next monster, the 5th ranked fighter. Rank 5. The assistant intones. Lev, a practitioner of Systema and a Russian bodyguard. Before that, he was Special Forces. Dark rumors swirl around him. It is said he permanently silenced anyone who dared threaten his clients. But his brutality had a cost. He was investigated for excessive force after slaughtering 8 assailants single-handedly, forcing his employer to cut ties. Yet, in the underworld, violence is currency. A short time later, a man hired him, granting him a new identity and a new purpose. The benefactor who offered this second chance at life was none other than Michael Lee, the head of the ruthless military contractor, Pawn. Chairman Yoon-cha nods slowly. Without a backer of that caliber, a man like Lev would be nothing more than a rabid dog. The assistant adds the final piece of the puzzle. After consuming the stamina drug, Lev unlocked limitless endurance. That infinite engine is what propelled him into the top 5. Now, for the 4th rank. The assistant continues. This fighter is backed by Chairman Sang Soo-han of the nation's largest construction conglomerate. Rank 4 is Kyung Ho-go, a master of combat taekwondo. He grew up idolizing his father, a legendary master of the art. Yet, fate twisted his path, leading him away from tradition and into the blood-soaked arena. Chairman Yoon-cha raises an eyebrow skeptically. Taekwondo, is that not merely a sport designed for points and Olympic medals? The assistant corrects him immediately, recalling a documentary where masters of every martial art gathered to test the raw destruction of their kicks. The data was undeniable, he states with awe. The majority of those kicks registered an impact force between 900 and 1,500 pounds. However, the capoeira kick registered a bone-crushing 1,900 pounds, stunning the onlookers. But the true spectacle began when Taekwondo, the ultimate striking art, took the stage. The censor screamed as the impact hit an unbelievable 2,300 pounds. Yoon-cha stood paralyzed in sheer disbelief. The assistant reveals the terrifying truth. Jang-go-seo is a master of combat Taekwondo, and in terms of raw destructive power, he stands unrivaled in this entire wing. Next, the 3rd-ranked nightmare is unveiled. Ryan, a monstrous creation of CT Bio's president. Consumed by an obsession for absolute strength, Ryan subjected his body to hellish experiments, even fusing steel directly onto his skeletal structure. But the price of power was his sanity. The cocktail of drugs rotting his brain has turned him into a volatile, mentally unstable war machine. Sitting on the 2nd throne is Tier Ma, a notorious fugitive hunted by the law, now leashed by Dongsu Park. Yoon-cha cannot fathom how a criminal reached such heights. The assistant's voice drops low. This fighter is a ghost in the records, and almost nothing is known about his past. But one chilling fact is known to all. He is a pure psychopath, who entered this hell solely to bathe in the thrill of slaughter without consequence. His killing art is so overwhelming that his victims cross the river of death before they even realize they have been struck. Yoon-cha trembles, realizing these men are not humans, but absolute monsters. Yet, the assistant grimly notes that the true abomination is the one who stands above them all, the former champion. Desperate, Yoon-cha asks who holds the apex spot. Before the words can leave his lips, the heavy steel doors are ripped off their hinges. Through the debris steps a giant. Yoon-cha stammers, asking who this titan is. The newcomer apologizes, claiming he cannot control his own godlike strength. This is K, the legendary Gurkha mercenary and the undisputed number 1. Panic seizes Uncha as he screams for a guide, while security drones swarm the area, sensing a catastrophe. Suddenly, a mocking voice cuts through the tension. Another man enters, sneering at him. Yoon-cha freezes, recognizing his own brother. Executive Director Ik Hyun-cha asks if Yoon-cha truly believed he could seize victory here. Yoon-cha snaps back, reminding him of their high-stakes wager and telling him to prepare for his downfall. But Ik Hyun only laughs, calling him an idiot for gambling his position at the company on a mere student. Yoon-cha bristles at the provocation, his fists clenching. His brother leaves him with a chilling warning about the consequences of losing. He wishes Uncha luck with his child and departs, taking the monster K with him. Left behind, Yoon-cha explodes with impotent rage. He screams at his assistant, demanding a solution, a weapon anyone who can crush K. Despair creeps in as he wonders if it is too late. Must the winner come from the top 5 monsters? The assistant offers a glimmer of hope, while the odds favor the elite. The arena is not absolute. The volatile nature of the enhancement drugs creates variables, meaning a Demon King could rise from the top 16 fighters. Although the process is slow, he confirms that this is exactly the kind of diamond in the rough they are searching for. When Yuncha demands names, the assistant reveals that 5 dark horses have already caught his eye. First is Ryo Iksha, who is slated to face Seonu in the ring. Alongside him stand Amanda Gross and the judo master, Wu Gangju, but the assistant's gaze shifts to the next match, where 2 distinct fates are about to collide. They are the boxing underdogs Minho Kim and Wonu Choi. The atmosphere in the arena turns suffocating. Minho Kim stares down Wonu Choi, asking a single question: does he know a man named Min Song Kim? Wonu smirks, maintaining his fighting stance, and asks how he could possibly forget such a person. That answer snaps the last thread of Minho's restraint. He screams that he sacrificed everything just to find his brother. In a flash, Minho's fist connects with Wanu's face. A thunderous blow of pure fury. He demands to know who he is. Another strike lands squarely, sending Wonu flying back as blood and spit spray into the air. Minho seizes him, demanding to know why he did it, before slamming a devastating kick into his face that launches Wonu violently against the wall. Minho stalks forward, shouting the question again, but Wonu simply chuckles from the floor. "That's enough," he mutters. Minho pauses, confused. Wonu slowly rises like a zombie. He reveals a twisted truth: he needed to take damage to activate the chemicals in his blood. He muses about the levels of his speed drug. Suddenly, Minho swings but hits nothing but air, only to receive a crushing kick to the skull. Wonu attacks again. Minho dodges, but the enemy is relentless, charging forward and taunting him to come back. Minho realizes with horror that no matter how fast he moves, he cannot track his opponent's blind spot. Wonu materializes in front of him, claiming his theory is proven. Minho lands a desperate, clean hook, but Wonu declares it was merely a punch at maximum speed. Then, he grips Minho's head, crushing it until he screams. Minho is hurled across the arena, rolling across the cold floor. Wonu admits there is a risk of getting beaten, but the high-grade effects of the drug are undeniable. He stalks forward, telling Minho to stay down so the referee can end it, before deciding that death is the only option left. As the shadow of death looms, a memory surfaces in Minho's mind. His brother's voice cuts through the pain. "When you think it is all over, take one last deep breath." The memory of his brother offers one final chance at redemption. Minho's heart begins to thunder in his chest like a war drum. Wonu Choi leaps back, barely evading the sudden explosion of speed. Minho lands with cataclysmic force, pulverizing the arena floor beneath his boots. Wonu realizes with horror this monster only grows stronger with every wound he takes. Without a second of hesitation, Minho vanishes. Reappearing with a fistful of death, Wonu knows he must dodge at maximum velocity or die. He throws himself sideways in a desperate bid for survival, but Minho intercepts him in midair. Fate has been sealed. There is no escape. "Why did you slaughter my brother?" The question explodes alongside a devastating strike. The impact buries Wonu deep into the crater of his own destruction. From the observation deck, the combat wing director confirms the impossible. It is the second transformation. Broken in the rubble, Wonu Choi hacks up blood. Minho Kim looms over him, his eyes burning with vengeance, demanding the truth one last time. Wonu gasps out the truth: Mong was murdered, but not by him. Minho grips him tighter, asking how he knew Mong if he wasn't the killer. "Any boxer," Wonu chokes out, "knows the legendary champion who held the world record for title defenses." Minho screams for a name. Wonu whispers of a madman, an addict who hunts champions. But consciousness fades before the name leaves his lips. Minho roars in frustration, begging him to speak, but the drone coldly announces that Wonu Choi is unable to continue. The match concludes with Minho Kim's absolute victory, and the betting notifications go wild as the prize money skyrockets. Watching from a tablet, Ikyuncha stares in disbelief. This kid, Minho, is truly incredible. The director's assistant notes this evolution occurred without enhancers. The director smiles darkly. The results of the experiment are finally manifesting. He admits that while they have not yet reached the godlike level of the first transcendent from 20 years ago, some subjects are nearing 80% of that legendary power. The director explains they have used the first transcendence genes as a blueprint ever since he vanished. He gazes into the void. mourning the loss of that original supreme being. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the facility, Seonu Kang shatters a steel door with a single kick. Seonu pushes his body past the breaking point, screaming that he must go further. Menon approaches, asking why he courts death like this. "Are you trying to bring the whole building down?" Menon asks. He warns Seonu that maintaining this insane pace will knock him out before the real fight begins. But Seonu's eyes blaze with determination. "I must become a monster to defeat the monsters in this hellhole." He recalls the teachings of Usik Park muscles torn to shreds rebuild stronger during deep slumber. Sleep is the ultimate key to evolution. Usik Park had given him the secret formula: split the day, alternate between limit-breaking torture and deep hibernation twice a day. That was the path to doubling his growth speed, to becoming strong twice as fast as any mortal. But it required a god-tier recovery stat, exactly what Seonu possesses. Panting heavily, Seonu decides that twice is for amateurs. Twice isn't enough, Manon asks if he plans to sleep again. Instead, Seonu begins to unstrap the massive weights from his ankles. He drops a heavier set of iron onto the floor, cracking the tiles. Menon yells, "I told you to prepare for death, not to actually kill yourself." Ignoring the warning, Seonu climbs into the recovery pod. This is round 3. He will trust his body's infinite potential. Manon shakes his head in disbelief. Training to death 3 times a day, and recovering with just 3 naps. A grin spreads across Menon's face. If this lunatic actually survives, the hierarchy of this place is about to crumble. Suddenly, a drone summons Menon to the main arena. "Finally," he mutters, "I hope they sent someone worthy of my time." His opponent crashes down Woo Gangju, the judo specialist from the VIP box. Ikyun-cha asks if this isn't one of the top 5 elites. The assistant explains that Woo Gangju is a monster whose grip strength was mutated by the enhancement drug. His grip can pulverize muscle and bone. The assistant warns, he breaks his opponent's will to fight before he breaks their bodies. But the real terror is his judo technique. Once he grabs you, it is over. The impact alone shatters skeletons. Ikyun-cha looks at Minon's profile. Rank 45. Why are we wasting time on this nobody? The assistant hesitates. "Sir, we have 0 data on him." Ikkyun freezes, surprised. Manon was a direct recruit by the combat wing. No background, no martial arts history. The effects of his drug are a complete mystery. In the arena, Manon tastes the sweat on his own arm, his eyes wild with anticipation. The announcer introduces Woo Gangju, the 15th ranked nightmare and judo master. The bell rings. Woo Gangju arrogantly declares, "Let's not drag this out. I'll end you in a single blow." Manon sidesteps the attack effortlessly. "Sure," he replies with a chilling calmness. In a blink, Manon vanishes and reappears behind the giant. Your back is wide open. Woo Gangju reacts on instinct, grabbing Minan. "Got you 1 point." Woo attempts a lethal slam, but the world spins. In a blur of motion, it is Woo Gangju who is launched into the wall. Ikyun-cha screams as the judo master is embedded in the concrete. The assistant turns pale. I knew he was strong, but to end it in a heartbeat, the dark horse has revealed his fangs. The drone's cold. Mechanical voice rings out, match terminated. Woo Gang is finished. His unconscious body hits the mat with a heavy thud. Manan claims the victory. Watching from above, Ikyun-cha is baffled. What kind of monster leaves an opponent in that condition? His assistant trembles, admitting total ignorance. This is an anomaly they have never witnessed before. Sprawled on the floor, Manan smirks. It's time to check if Seonu is cooked to perfection or just burnt to a crisp. Meanwhile, the recovery capsule hisses open. Seonu opens his eyes. Did the hellish training pay off? He rises to his feet. Grim determination set in his jaw, success or failure. The only path is forward. Thoughts of his mother flood his mind. Is she safe? And that mysterious woman? Is she a savior or a snake? He needs answers from that scout now. As if on cue, a drone hovers down. The summon has been issued. The assistant orders the blindfold removed. A smirk plays on his lips. It's been a while. Seonu lunges, seizing him by the collar. You bastard! The man sneers, warning that death here yields nothing. But Seonu doesn't flinch. A man with nothing to lose fears no consequences. His grip tightens. He demands the truth. Where are his parents? The assistant's eyes gleam. Of course he knows. In fact, they are under his personal protection at this very second. Don't lie to me. Seonu roars. He heard everything in the recovery room, the order to dispose of them. The assistant sighs. Yes, the VVIP ordered the hit, but he lied to the boss, claiming they vanished, all to keep them safe. He shoves Seonu's hand away, straightening his suit. He has already placed his chips on the table. He bet everything on Seonu. The director will have no choice but to follow his lead. Seonu mentions the woman's warning, but the assistant cuts him off. Does he really think that voice belonged to a friend? Think about the timing. The news of his parents' death arrived the exact moment that woman, Seo-yoon, appeared. He leans in closer. Does Seonu truly believe in such convenient coincidences? She is a liar, a pariah cast out by her own father to protect the family legacy. Seonu snaps back. She knew them, but when asked for proof, he falters. Nothing enters the facility. He has nothing. The man smiles darkly. Then, how about this? He rolls up his sleeve, ink on skin, a message from a mother to her son. I'm okay. Don't worry. Seonu freezes. It's his mother's handwriting. The date is fresh, but panic sets in. Handwriting can be faked. The assistant shrugs. Believe or deny, the choice is his. But now, he reveals the master plan. To reignite the director's interest in Seonu, he deliberately hyped up the opponent's power level. If Seonu crushes him, the director is trapped, win, and everything is solved. Seonu demands a name. The gates open. The next challenger, Ryo-icha, steps into the arena of death. High above, the rival faction notes that Seo-yoon doesn't care about the belt. She only wants to burn her brother's plans to the ground. She has no reason to save Seonu's parents. The assistant's voice echoes in Seonu's mind, join us, or they die. Seonu is torn apart. Who is the liar? Who is the savior? But hesitation is fatal. None of it matters if he falls here. He must destroy Ryo-icha. Woo Seon-go sneers from his VIP box. If the boy dies, the look on his sister's face will be exquisite. Seo-yoon remains ice cold. We'll see who laughs last. In the ring, Ryo drops into a lethal fighting stance. Seonu analyzes the posture instantly. A striker. A low calf kick is the weakness. He rushes in, but Ryo is faster. A lightning kick. Seonu attempts a counter, but it's a trap. Ryo seizes his leg. Slam Seonu hits the mat. Punches rain down, but he rolls away just in time to escape the barrage. Woo Seon-go is stunned. Ground game. He thought this fighter was a pure striker. His assistant corrects him. Ryo-icha has no limits. He is a master of kudo, the art of striking, throwing, and joint locking. Headbutts, groin strikes, nothing is forbidden. It is a style of pure violence. Facing Ryo in close quarters isn't a fight. It's a descent into hell. The fighters lock eyes. Ryo analyzes his prey, but startles Seonu's eyes hold absolutely no fear. Seonu fires a heavy punch. Ryo weaves under it and blasts a devastating kick into Seonu's ribs. Impact, Seonu crumples to the floor. Woo-san-go grins. The boy is finished. But Ryo freezes. Something is wrong. Lying in the dust. Why is the opponent smiling? Lying on the cold floor, Seonu offers nothing but a chilling smile. Ryo snaps, roaring with rage as he charges in to wipe that grin off his face forever. Seonu latches onto his opponent like a vice. Ryo mocks the attempt, warning that he has more than just strikes in his arsenal. He tries to grapple, but Seonu sinks his teeth directly into Ryo's thigh. Screaming in pain, Ryo curses him, desperate to break free. He drives a brutal elbow into Seonu's spine. He demands to know if Seonu is some kind of animal, but slowly. Seonu lifts his head, his eyes burning with a feral, unyielding glare. Ryo answers that look with a savage kick to the face. The force is devastating, dragging Seonu's body across the concrete floor. Ryo pauses, shaken. Did he let this brat get inside his head? He realizes his last kick lacked power. The wound on his thigh had ruined his stance. He stares at the boy, wondering if he is truly fighting a beast in human skin. On the sidelines, Yoo-san-go watches in utter shock, unable to comprehend the chaos. His assistant murmurs the truth. Seonu is a fighter who isn't bound by the shackles of rules or honor. Like a zombie, Seonu rises and moves toward Ryo again. Ryo scoffs, asking if he thinks the same trick will work twice. He's expecting another bite. Ryo prepares to counter, vowing not to fall for the bait. But suddenly Seonu's leg flashes out, slamming a kick directly into his skull. Yuzon Go freezes, identifying the movement instantly as capoeira. Memories flood back to Seonu's training, where he begged Amanda to use her deadliest techniques on him. He had pointed to himself with absolute conviction, demanding the pain. Amanda had questioned his sanity, warning him not to underestimate the martial art. But she obliged, launching a devastating kick to his head. Seonu had collapsed instantly. But Amanda realized the terrifying truth. This boy possesses a talent to perfectly copy any technique he has physically endured. Back in the blood-soaked arena, Seonu's stolen technique connects perfectly with Ryo's face. Balancing on one hand, Seonu launches his entire body upward. Yuzon Go gasps. It's a gravity-defying vertical kick aimed straight at the jaw. Ryo barely manages to catch the leg, bewildered by this impossible movement. But Seonu isn't finished. He pivots midair, slamming a second kick into Ryo's head. The impact sends Ryo flying like a rag doll. He crashes hard against the arena floor as Seonu advances like a Terminator. Seonu's mind is clear. His body is moving exactly as he commands. Just one more calf kick, and this battle is history. But Ryo scrambles up, shifting into a serious fighting stance. Ryo admits his mistake. He didn't expect such wild, unpredictable movements, but now he declares he will hunt Seonu down like the beast he is. The predator charges. Seonu's eyes widen. Ryo's speed has suddenly exploded to a whole new level. Seonu tries to weave and counter, but he's too slow. Ryo slams a massive headbutt directly into his face. Seonu stumbles back, his rhythm completely shattered by the unexpected blow. Ryo follows up with a gut-wrenching punch to the stomach. The air leaves Seonu's lungs as he screams at himself to stay conscious. Ryo grabs him by the collar, his voice cold as ice. He promises to rupture every organ in Seonu's body. A barrage of punches rains down, pulverizing Seonu's torso. Ryo prepares the executioner's strike. He winds up and delivers a final bone-crushing kick to the body. Looking down at the motionless body, Ryo scoffs. The boy's out cold. The fight is finished. Yuzon Go cheers wildly, declaring the end for Seonu and his faction, but Sunyun watches closely, gripping the railing. "It's not over," she whispers. Suddenly, a hand shoots up and grabs Ryo's arm. Ryo stares in disbelief. He's still awake. He growls that it changes nothing and cocks his fist. But Seonu slams his own forehead into Ryo's face. Ryo reels back. Since when did this kid learn how to headbutt? Seonu, swaying but determined, stalks forward once more. Ryo shudders. The boy isn't moving like a martial artist anymore. He's moving like a monster. But Ryo is confident those body shots destroyed his insides. He convinces himself it's just the adrenaline or drugs keeping Seonu moving. One block. That's all he needs to end this. Seonu lunges with a desperate kick. Ryo catches the leg instantly. "I've got you," he screams triumphantly. But in a stroke of madness, Seonu rips a chunk of fabric from his own pants. The cloth flies up, wrapping around Ryo's face. "I can't see." Ryo panics, clawing at the blindfold. Seonu seizes the moment of total darkness. Ryo grits his teeth. If he can't see the attack, he will withstand it with pure durability. Seonu's kick chops into Ryo's planted leg with sickening force, but as they crumble, Ryo strikes back, smashing Seonu's shin. Yuzon Go screams that the leg is snapped in two. Seonu latches onto him again. Ryo is terrified. How is he still moving with a broken leg? "This ends now," Ryo roars. But Seonu ignores the pain. He drives one final, devastating kick into Ryo's remaining leg. Both fighters collapse into a heap on the arena floor. Silence falls over the crowd. Then, the announcer's voice booms. Ryo is unable to continue. The winner of this brutal deathmatch is Seonu Kang. Yuzon Go slams his fist in frustration, but Sunyun simply smiles, her eyes gleaming. This unyielding spirit. This is exactly why she chose him. Why? Yuzon Go argues that it's a draw. He points out that Seonu is unconscious too. Aren't they both eliminated? The assistant shakes his head calmly. "You are mistaken," he replies. "Seonu isn't knocked out. The boy is just sleeping." Sunyun's expression darkens. "He can't sleep now," she mutters. She checks the monitors. Just as she feared. The betting odds are a disaster. Her assistant explains the grim reality. No one bets on a broken fighter. The top 16 rankings are decided solely by the money wagered. He points to the screen. Seonu's dead last in the rankings. If the top 16 are finalized before Seonu wakes up, he will lose his chance to select a VVIP. They might need to find a new champion before it's too late. With cold precision, Sun Young-cha demands to know exactly how much liquid capital she has left, a question that sends a jolt of panic through her assistant. Eyes burning with resolve, she declares that if the world refuses to bet on him, she will force Destiny's hand herself. She vows to drag him to the summit using the sheer power of her wealth. Her assistant trembles, warning that this gamble could bankrupt her, but she slices through his fear with a sharp command. The game has already begun. High above, a mechanical drone buzzes to life, shattering the silence to summon the 31 surviving gladiators for the next phase of hell. A swarm of drones descends over the blood-stained arena. Minho Kim casts a worried glance at Seon-woo, who remains collapsed on the cold floor, motionless. Anxiety gnaws at Minho. He debates shaking his comrade awake before the merciless briefing commences. Suddenly, a colossal screen flickers on. A mysterious figure greets the 31 victors and the 16 elite VVIPs watching from the shadows, including the steel-willed Sun Young-cha in her private luxury box. The figure drops a bombshell rule. The top 16 fighters who advance will be chosen solely by the weight of the gold bet upon their lives. A digital timer erupts on the screen, counting down the final 30 seconds, a half-minute of chaos for the ultimate wagers to be placed. Sun Young's voice is ice cold as she demands the exact gap between Seon-woo's current pot and the fighter clinging to the 16th spot. Her assistant stammers that the difference is 2 billion won, likely to spike in the final moments. Without hesitating, she orders him to dump every last cent she possesses onto Seon-woo right now. Horror strikes the assistant's face. He screams that it's 4 billion won, an entire fortune that will vanish into thin air if Seon-woo fails to make the cut. Desperate, he begs her to abandon the sinking ship and bet on a safe fighter. But Sun Young remains an unshakable mountain, calmly repeating her order to bet it all. When he questions her sanity, asking why she would go this far, she spins around, her fury exploding as she roars at him to place the damn bet immediately. The timer hits 0. The window for destiny is closed. In the suffocating silence of the private box, they can only wait for the judgment. Shoulders slumped, the assistant confirms the transfer is complete. He reminds her, voice shaking, that she already bled resources to keep her brothers in check. Why risk total ruin now? Sun Young ignores the lecture, her eyes glued to the screen as she asks for the final ranking. The assistant explains that the system cloaked the numbers during the countdown. Now, they are at the mercy of the official announcement. The mysterious figure's voice booms through the arena, declaring the time for revelation has come. He begins by unveiling the 5 titans standing at the top. The screen flashes the names of the elite. Cam, Ryan, Giho, Gole, and Tim Ma have secured the highest bids. Minho Kim gasps, stunned by the astronomical figures. He scans the list, realizing many powerful boxers are still fighting for a slot. The tension ratchets up as the announcer prepares to reveal the next batch of survivors. Names flash rapidly: Woo Gang-ju, Amanda Groh, Yu Seon, Kenda, and Menon take the 6th to 10th spots. Seeing Amanda land in 7th, a seed of doubt sprouts in Minho's heart. The announcer doesn't let them breathe, moving instantly to the next tier of warriors. Miguel, Bishop, Sunbum, Carl, and Ricardo claim the 11th to 15th ranks in the VIP box. The assistant is hyperventilating. There is only one single spot remaining. The figure pauses dramatically, preparing to unveil the gatekeeper of the top 16. He announces the total bet on this fighter is a staggering 4.6 billion won. He introduces the final qualifier as the former Street Fighter. The screen blazes with the name Boncho-gu. Sun Young's assistant stares at the screen, his face twisting in absolute shock at the devastating result.